A warm welcome to the Nordic Brand Impact Summit. It's being hosted by Brim, which stands for Brands for Impact. So Nordic Brand Impact Summit, it's 9th of September, and we are very happy with these awesome people who will be joining us on the panel and the other set of awesome people who are going to be listening to and interacting with all the discussions that are coming out of the summit. Quick introduction about Brim. It's an ecosystem. I'm and a few other crazy people are behind it. World gets changed when crazy people put their mind on something. So we are building. So Brim stands for Brands for Impact. We are building. There's a lot of amazing ecosystems on impact around the world. We are building the first ecosystem which is backed by brands, and we are very close to our launch. So that's what we are, and we do have a manifesto. Recently, we see the waves coming in that impact maybe is not that big of a priority. We think impact is urgent. It's the most urgent thing we need today. We also, since we are a brand-based ecosystem, we believe that the current or since many decades how marketing has been done is not the right way marketing is conceived as. So we are changing marketing. We are bringing marketing and into spotlighting impact, and we are a collective ecosystem, so to bring all stakeholders on the same table and not to cancel any stakeholder from the table. So that's what we believe in. That's what Brim is. And for brands, it provides a tailored community of impact makers, innovators, alpha consumers out there, to build things together in a very different way from which they build in silos in vacuum. So it's no more vacuum building of innovation. Uh, Although corporate venture building is changing that, but Brim is a whole new dimension. So a quick introduction on how this is going. Brim is behind it. We're creating a new model for impact. We'll start with a brand panel where we will be thinking how brands need to move forward given the challenges that we are facing from multiple fronts. Even technology is a massive force right now. How AI is going to be interacting, how consumer choices are going to be changing, how globalization versus nationalism, the two extremes, how does that affect brands? So we'll be talking about that. Adam is joining us. Anja is joining us from TrusTrace. Chris joins us from Silicon Valley. He's an IRG 100 marketer. And Olena is joining us from Electrolux, who's got good cause, good trouble. I got troubled there. So amazing speakers over here. Then we'll jump right into impact panel. That's where we'll kind of go in and talk about how impact ecosystems are as they are today and what needs to be done to make them different going forward. We'll have Elinor joining us from Barncancerfonden. Malin joins us from Hunger Project Sweden. Sini joins us from Greenpeace Nordics. Jesper joins us. I think he's on vacation, but we'll see. He joins us from Impact Hub Stockholm, and Juha joins us from Demos Helsinki. After that, we'll conclude the session with a 1.5 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes pitch session. So Karita will be joining us from Spintop. Hannah joins us from Chi Vestments. Magnus will be joining us with massive deep tech exposure from Stuoff. Marlene joins us from Fem Invest. Margarita recently took over secondary in part of Nordic Angels network, and she'll be joining us, also an angel investor herself. Philip is an angel investor, very deeply involved in a lot of stuff that we do in the Nordics together. Tina joins us as head of Finnish Business Angels Networks. Very awesome that, Tina, you could take out the time and join us. Timo from Plug and Play, Mekar from Venture Cup, Truth from Impact Invest, Wilson from Maki VC, and Michael joins us from Ashoka. So we are kind of keeping it a panel where you can get, so if there is a startup which is in social impact space, you could still get some interesting and amazing feedback from our panelists. So with that, we'll move to our keynote with Hampus, who joins us from Pale Blue Dot. I'll stop sharing my screen and request Hampus to join me on the main screen now. Hi, Hampus. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. So let's start. You are opening the day with us here at the summit. So if you could tell our audience about yourself, what got you interested in impact, climate, and venture space?
Yeah, so originally I'm an engineer. I'm a computer science engineer. And as you know, with engineers, we're not the ones that lead with their heart. So I was always interested in figuring things out and, solving problems. And I started a company completely randomly when I was in university. I wasn't planning, I was planning to be a math professor because that's what everybody in my family are. And then scaled that company completely randomly again and got acquired. And when I got acquired, what happened was that the acquirer, which was a very large corporate, asked me to run part of their acquisitions. So I was allowed to acquire or invest and do anything for them. And it was a massive 17,000 people listed company. And I think what changed in me is that I grew up with this thinking as an engineer that the way you change the world is you build things. Like you build teams, you build, bridges, you build software, you build those kind of things. And I always saw finance as something which is about multiplying money for people who already have money. So I was not very interested in that. But at this massive corporate, I started realizing that money is an amazing tool if you want to change things. So if you want something done, and the seat I was as, we could license it, which means we went to a company and said, we'll pay you to solve it for us, right? We could acquire them, where we said, like, we actually want to buy your whole company and get inside us, or we could invest in them. And that really opened my eyes during those 2.5 years I was there about, like, this is an amazing tool if you want to change things. So then I started angel investing and I invested in, what is it now, 150 plus companies and 20, 30 funds, and just essentially really enjoyed that like early creation phase of creating things. And I think I had a very, I'm an angel investor or was an angel investor. So I did everything. So like I did everything that you would definitely put in a massive impact bucket and stuff that you wouldn't put in impact bucket. But I think at the end of the day, I really asked myself, would I want this thing to exist? Like, go 10 years in the future. Do I think we need yet another casino game? Do I think we need yet another social media that allows people to kind of, spy on people or whatever? I just feel like, no, no, I actually don't think so. But I did a lot of stuff that I felt like I would really happy if this existed. And it could be all over the place. And then what happened is that I started working at a very large fund in Germany and started helping them doing deep science investing. Because I think what I like about science investing is that you end up being very much at the forefront of looking at how to cure cancer, or, how to suck down carbon from the sky, or how to be fusion reactors. And I really, really enjoyed the feeling of like, instead of, it's a classic quote, right? Like the best way to predict the future is to build it. So I really, really enjoyed it there. And I really enjoyed the thought about it. But the thing that like was nagging in me were two things. One is that the fund was very large. They did very, very large investments, which meant the company were slightly more mature, maybe. And I really like that early phase when like there's so much unknown and I work very closely with the people. And number two, what I thought was that I felt that I spent starting this 2019, I started reading enormous amount of climate change and just really read like every single thing and like looked how the trends were going. And I was completely appalled by the fact that you look at, you know, almost nobody talked about it in a sane way. And the crazy thing is that I found is that people who did were people who have said since that they're on the autism Asperger spectrum. So you have people like, Bill Gates talked about it, or Elon Musk talked about it, or Greta Thunberg people talked about it. People who have said, I'm on the spectrum. And I think it was very curious to see that there's a kind of person in 2019 who were able to speak out about climate change because it was illogical. Like it just didn't make sense that we would destroy our own, our own environment. And then I just started getting really obsessed by it. I just started realizing that I was spending a significant amount of hours on my day thinking about climate change, and then realized that on my day job, I was looking at stuff like cancer and other things. And I just felt I just want to spend all my time in the right direction, or not the right direction, the same direction. So then I said, okay, I will just do only climate. And then together with Heidi and Yule, my two co-founders of Pale Dot, we raised this fund, started the fund in 2020. And the first fund is a $100 million fund. And then raised the second fund a couple of years later, which is a $100 million fund. And our whole thing there is that we really love investing super, super, super early in companies, majority in Europe, but quite a lot in the US as well. And all of Europe, I think 25% of investments are UK. I think 15% are France, Benelux. I think 15% is DACH. I think 12% are the Nordics. So like we're kind of like all over Europe, some in Southern Europe, some all over the place. But I think what we like is essentially when you have people that we would view as the leaders of tomorrow, that are people that actually have a craft skill to build products that we need. And that can be anything. It doesn't have to be suck down carbon from the sky. It could be anything from, yeah, we need to figure out how to transport goods all across the planet because we probably will transport, right? We need to figure out a way to heat our buildings and do that. We need to figure out a way to build things like industrial, like how to do that. And I think we got so excited just like looking at these industries. So we do roughly 10 investments per year. We do roughly 1 million to 1.5 million euros. We're working closely with the founders. And essentially, at the end for us, what I love about it is I get to co-build quite a lot of companies. And we're not an accelerator or anything. It's like I mean, we are investors. So like at the end of the day, it's the company, it's the founders that build the company. But I think I love being, a partner in their journey and somebody they have on WhatsApp.
Amazing. What an interesting background, like from mathematics, finance, and then money as a tool. I think that's a brilliant thought. That's what we are trying to do with Brim as well, because entire corporate money is with corporates. How good it will be if we can unlock that money and bring it to impact. So I think we are also working on that side, and really impressive to see all your work in the angel space, fund building space. And something which I loved here was what's the longitude, long term impact? What's the civilization level impact of something, not the current impact as we stand today? Great thoughts. And last point, choosing all things moving in the same direction, level of focus when you chose climate as your point. How are we doing on impact these days? What do you think? You are in the right spot center of impact. Do you think we are doing enough in terms of impact? How is the world
I,
changing?
no, no, I would say that I think first of all, it's very simple. I think we're absolutely not doing enough. I think
Mm,
enough is absolutely an absurd think that we would even get there, because I think that at the end of the day, um, enough would be that we actually would solve some of the problems that
mm,
we're having. And I think that we have a couple of different enormous problems on the planet. Like we have,
yeah.
if you think about the planet as a massive machine, and you just
Mm,
think that the machine is producing some kind of output, there are three kind of very obvious problems about it. You have one problem, which obviously is climate change, and climate change is this like continuous inefficiency, essentially rust. If you think about this machine, it's
mm,
just rusting, right? And the reason it's rusting is because a lot of uh, carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere. And I think that we just want to reduce that amount, because then the machine stopped rusting, and that's like, would just be good. It would be produce whatever the thing we want the machine of the planet to produce. And the machine then being, of course, all the people. It's not the planet itself. The second thing is that we have this problem that we're like the last 10 years, the world trust has eroded. So like
mm,
10, 15 years ago, if somebody wrote a science paper about something, people did trust it. People did say, oh, I should get an education. I can't read this. I would love to do it. You trust doctors, you trust government, you trust institutions. And I think really what's changed is that due to this polarized politics we have, which is this like strongman shouting kind of style of populism, like the best way if you're a populist, if you're a warlord, is to undermine these kind of trusts. Because like what you
mm,
do when you're uncertain, you look at the strong man. Like everybody was like, okay, let's have a very, angry shouting person to protect us all. So like it's very important for these kind of warlord men to undermine institutions. And that's what we've seen. We've seen this complete erosion in trust. And if you think about the world machine again, trust is like a tax on all transaction. If I tell you, oh yeah, yeah, like my name is Hampus Jakobsson, this is me, blah
mm,
blah blah. If we're in a world of 100% trust, then you'd be like, oh great, and I trust him. If you're in a world of 30% trust, now I lose 70% of my communication, right? Like you might like, he's probably like not honest about
mm,
this. He wants something else, right? And I think we're moving into a world of very low trust. And then the third problem we have is that we have a massive inequality on many levels. We have a gender inequality, we have a global north-south inequality, we have a wealth inequality. We have a lot of problems. And if you think about equality, equality is really essentially, if you think about this world machine we're running, inequality means that we only allow a certain type of machine part to be run on the world. We have a lot of people on the planet that are essentially not part of the discussion. They're not part of, we're not using them. Like if you're using them as the machine, like there are a lot of people who don't get the university, who don't get food enough, who don't get listened to. And I think at the end of the day, if you just see the civilization as a massive machine trying to output joy or culture or whatever you want very low inequality, you want very, very high trust, and you don't want any rust on this thing. And for me, if we're saying, are we doing enough on impact? Obviously not. People are
mm,
dying for the most random reasons on the planet. People are starving the most random reasons on the planet. And the reason I was really obsessed, and I'm really obsessed about climate change, is this what's called the American wedding cake model. Because if you know
mhm,
those American wedding cakes in a movie, like these massive cakes that are really, really wide and they go further, further up. If you take a problem, if you take diversity as a problem, diversity is a
mm,
problem we have on a planet. But the thing is that diversity is up here. There are a couple of things that stack on top of diversity, which is like if this doesn't work, these things are not these are working less good. The thing about climate change is the bottom part of the cake. Because the weird thing is like if we have increased climate change, when you have higher temperatures, more droughts, less food, who are the people getting hurt the worst? Well, it is women and children. So the thing is
Mm,
that every single thing you care about, the thing is that they're higher up in the wedding cake than climate change. Oh no, diseases, like zoonotism, like when the coronavirus and other things, they are affected by climate change because the more we build out into nature, the more we destroy nature, the more we get animals in towards us, which means that we have these crossover diseases from animals. So whatever you care about, climate change is the bottom plate of your problems. And if you look at many, many problems, whatever you are in the world, climate change is aggravating our problem. So for me, it made so much sense that can we actually focus on thinking about solving this problem partly? So are we doing enough? Not at all. And I think what also
okay.
happened the last 3 years is that we had two shock waves that hit the system. One is that we have the whole issue of Russia invading Ukraine, which of course is a massive problem on so many levels. But what it did is that it removed a lot of these, like we used to be on a world agenda where we
Mm,
were thinking we're going to collaborate and we have a global economy and we really want this. The second we have a world war, like, very large war, even if it's not like, I mean, you could call Russia, Ukraine, a world war in the sense we have very many actors in that war behind the scenes. The problem with that kind of war is like the second you have polarization, you lose all kinds of trust. And when you have that lost kind of trust, that means that why on earth would somebody spend a lot of money to suck down carbon from the sky if someone else is building tanks? And building tanks would, of course, like emit a lot of carbon. So suddenly we go from a trust society to a loss of trust society. And I think that's a crazy thing. The other thing that happened was, of course, Trump. And Trump coming in and saying climate change isn't real, like why would we do all these things and pulling out of it means that suddenly those two in effect, not only did they decrease the interest in investing in climate, both because of very natural reasons, because they're like if someone else peed in the pool, it's hard for you to clean it. But the other part of the problem is that a very large majority of people that were interested in climate, they were interested in it because it was cool to be it was hip to do it, and everything else. And honestly, even if you didn't do it for that reason, even if it was self-sacrifice, let's say you became vegan because of climate
mm.
change and you felt it's a self-sacrifice. If everyone else is eating meat, then you feel like, wait, why am I suffering if I'm only one part per million of the planet, right? So it's very hard because we have this common good effect. So those two in effect means that there's so many people out there that are now misbehaving that a couple of years ago they were well behaving because the society said, hey, we're in a sunny neighborhood, let's pick up the garbage. But I think now in 2025, we moved into this dark forest world in which don't stick out your neck because somebody will cut it off. So just be silent, do your work. Like, you build guns if you want to build guns. And I think we need to get back into that sunny neighborhood of collaboration if we're going to curb not only climate change, but a lot of these problems.
Amazing points. I love it when you straight out say that it's not enough. And I love the three dots that you connected: climate, trust, inequality. I believe climate and lots of other things that we see are outcomes of inequalities and trust. So if women are not there in most of decisions, then world will evolve in a way when majority of men are going to evolve it. So I think there's a lot of root causes to fix, which are uh, driving this massive machine into the rust mode, as you're saying.
Yes.
Um, when we were talking about our topic, who's so impact? Who owns the identity? So who in whose bucket is the responsibility to fix? If we come there,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the headache is like I'm a massive believer at the end of the day of uh, like I think the thing is that we humans are great at working collaboratively, but at the end of the day, collaboration is the sum of individuals. So I really believe that we need people to stand up and say, I want to do this, and one person becomes many people and we can do something. So I think one of the headaches I find is that it is not one person's responsibility, but it's everybody's responsibility.
okay.
And I think the problem with that is that it's like we people usually need something that fuses our spirits and make sure that we say this is enough. And the
Mm,
strange thing about climate change is that climate change is one of those things, or the climate crisis is one of those things where it gets like whatever it is 5% worse every year, and 5% is not enough to shock us. Because think about it, if you were teleported from the 1950s to the 2020s and you saw one of the forest fires, if you saw take the Los Angeles forest fire, which of course devastated and destroyed many parts of Los Angeles, the reason that became a big thing is because a lot of wealthy people's homes got destroyed. And when a lot of wealthy people's homes got destroyed, they were very aware that this is real, right? Miami will be underwater and disappear. When that starts to happen, a lot of wealthy people will say, what's going on? But what I get really surprised about is think about one of the world's largest forest fires in the same period was in Australia. And it's
Mm.
like that the forest fire in Australia was enormous. And it was like enormous amount of animals died. But the strange thing about it is that because Australia is fairly vast, it didn't hit people's homes the same way, which meant that, of course, that it wasn't in a wealthy person's backyard. And if you
Okay.
think about the world's like the biggest droughts and floods we've had, they're not going to hit Miami. They're going to hit Lagos. But people don't care because they're not in Lagos. So I think the point is that those three, trust, inequality, and climate change, they're so
Mm.
connected. So I think that it's nobody's everybody's responsibility. And because we have this 5% increase of the problem every year, hopefully it's less than 5%. But if it's 5%, the problem is like none of us would notice a 5%. Like it's not a big thing, right? If you think about your kids, when the kids grow, your kids grow way more than 5% per year up until that then when they stop growing, right? Like if you would add 5% weight per year, it would take a long time before somebody said, hey, you need to go to the gym. The problem is that with climate change is that it goes on and on and on. And when it gets worse, other things start triggering. Forest fires, of course, they create more carbon emissions.
You're absolutely right. I remember in my early days in marketing, we read about a just noticeable difference when you are throwing out marketing
Yeah,
messages. How do consumers perceive it? And for a message or something to be perceived, like for example, if you hear a lot of loud music over and over again, over time, it'll be very difficult for you to start judging minor differences
of
in the
course.
sound levels because you'll get used to large differences. So the just noticeable difference will have to be much larger for you to
Yeah.
perceive if the difference is there. But Hampus, thank you so much for bringing this energy in our summit today. We are very thankful you could take the time out. Pale Blue Dot could take the time out and join us today for this very interesting conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the message I really want to send is really we can't blame politicians. We can't
Yeah.
say somebody should write policies. We can't blame corporates because at the end of the day, we have to blame ourselves. Like if you want another politician to run, then you got to get that politician in or you become the politician. If you want a company to do better, you got to either stop selling, like short their stock or stop owning their stock, or you have to, stop buying their products or stop working for them and make sure that you vote with your money and with your feet and with your votes and
Mhm.
make sure that if you want to do something you have to decide what to change. Like many people are just working at a crappy place doing crappy things and they don't care. And the problem is like at the end of the day we can't point and say, oh, the politicians aren't doing anything. Well, why would they? Like if they can stay in power. So like, and I'm not saying they're bad people, right? Like if you would take a politician right now in a country and say I'm thinking about those things and like add a sugar tax, a carbon tax, whatever, all their advisors say, if you propose this, you won't stay in office for very long, right? So they realize, okay, that's true. The majority of the people would prefer that we just evict all immigrants, shut the borders, and try to figure out our problems. And then they realize, I don't think that works. So like we can't propose that. So we have to propose something which sounds sweet, lower the taxes, maybe, I don't know. And and we all know that's not going to work.
You're absolutely right. It's on all of us. I think that's a very, very strong message. It's on all of us to fix this. And we cannot be shifting the blame to somebody else. The blame is on each and every one of us, and so is the responsibility. Hampus,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. We'll request now our panelists if we could raise hand, and we'll start our next session here on brands. Let's just see if I can locate. Uh, yes, so we are going to request our speakers to join us on stage. Olena, Anja, Chris, and Adam. Let's see. Let's see. It takes like we are doing this live, so it will take a small fraction of a second. I shouldn't promise that, but let's see. And I need to bring in Adam here. Amazing, amazing. So the room is populating. Great. Hi, Anja. Hi, Olena, Adam, and Chris. Great to have you here. What a powerful start from Hampus a little while ago. Amazing. Let's start with a quick introduction from all of us. First of all, a big thanks for being here with us at the Nordic Brand Impact Summit. As you have heard in the previous conversation with Hampus, Pale Blue Dot, we are focusing on impact, but also finding out what is missing around impact. And with Hampus, the thing that came out very, very interestingly, the model, the climate, trust, and inequality are the core pillars. I think in when we send out the handouts after the summit, that'll feature over there. But he also talked about that the responsibility is on each one of us. With that, let's have a quick introduction from all of you. So if I could go around the room or the table, Adam, if you would like to tell us about yourself, what you're doing.
Hello, everyone. My name's Adam. I'm a creative director at Berghs School of Communication, and I teach a Cannes Lions online creative MBA. And my background's in advertising, and it is a pleasure to be here.
Amazing. Adam, we have been in touch for over several years now. You do such amazing work in the world of marketing, and we are always nagging you to come in and coach some of the entrepreneurs that are working with us. But thank you so much for being here today.
You don't need to nag. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Let's go to Anja.
Hi, everyone. I am Anja. I head up marketing and communications at TrusTrace. We're an impact tech startup basically doing supply chain traceability, helping companies understand how fashion is produced and consumed and all the bad things that happens as part of that production and how to fix it. And I come from a long background of B2B and B2C marketing in Procter & Gamble, in hospitality, and now in tech. I'm very happy to be here.
Amazing. Great to see organizations and startups building purposeful stuff. That's what you're doing at TrustTrace, and your background in branding. I think that'll be so interesting to have in today's conversation. Chris, over to you.
So happy to be here. My name is Chris Foltz, coming from the U.S., exciting as that may or may not be. I'm Global Entrepreneur in Residence at Founder Institute, the largest pre-seed accelerator in the world. So that's always exciting to be at this kind of intersection of innovation. But then also I'm co-founder of a nonprofit AI lab based in Virginia, AI Aut Lab, and I work a lot in the human intelligence movement. So I kind of sit at this interesting intersection right now of artificial intelligence and the prospects of humanity, and I couldn't be more excited, especially about the region we're talking about today. So thank you for having me.
Amazing. Great to have that focus, artificial intelligence and humanity. Love the space. Thank you, Chris, for being here and for your energy, which you are bringing into the entire Founder Institute network. I think you are kind of powering up the network to move to the next stage. Thank you. Olena.
Hi, everyone. Olena here. I'm a growth manager at Electrolux Group, heading growth for BA Europe and Asia, and kind of focusing on sustainable growth for D2C here. I'm also the founder of Cause Good Trouble, where we help brands become activists and drivers of impact in the world. And besides that, actually, most of my effort, I would say, from my heart, goes into the activism sphere to stop Russian invasion in Ukraine. Happy to be here as well and talk about impact.
Thank you so much, Olena. We love your work in the activism space. I think you're doing a great thing. We were talking about the war in the previous conversation as well. So I think, as Hampus was saying, when something is wrong, it's on every one of us to solve it. So I think great work you're doing both in Cause Good Trouble and also on your marketing side with Electrolux. Let's jump into today's conversation. And the topic for today, for this panel, is to figure out where are brands headed and do they collide in their path with impact in some way and how this happens. So if we, before going into that, move a little bit into, is there a change? How are brands evolving in today? So brands live in a kind of a changing environment. Consumer trends are changing. What do you see around yourself? What are the few things that brands need to have in mind in today's environment? And anybody can start. We'll keep it very informal.
I can start.
Yes, please go ahead.
Obviously branding is very close to my heart, so I'm going to say it's ever more important. We will probably always say that no matter what goes on in the world. But if you're thinking about both just from an efficiency perspective, like if you want to get attention in a world where the attention span is below a minute, has been decreasing for many, many years. There's so much out there. Branding, just getting the attention and getting the correct attribution that people know it's you talking, they notice you, they care about you. That becomes very important. But I think also to the point that Hampus made before about eroding trust and like the brand authenticity and actually doing what you say you're going to do and do what you stand for becomes even more important because all brands are under scrutiny. Everything is visible. Everything can be questioned. So the story you tell and the actions that you do have to jive much more than they did before. Because if you're saying one thing, we have these values, we care about sustainability, but then you go out and do something very different in terms of how you act. For instance, we work a lot with fashion companies, so we see luxury companies that have historically been, we take really good care of our people, we produce everything ethically, and then you discover they have sweatshops in Italy and they get sued for that. That erodes trust. You don't want to pay for these products. So that you really have to keep in check, right? And I think it's a very good thing that there is all of this scrutiny. The flip side of it is that sometimes brands become scared of talking about what they are doing that is good. So you lose some of the knowledge sharing because the scrutiny is too hard and you don't want to talk about anything until you've succeeded and you have all the numbers to back it up. So that's the downside. But it's really important to show that what you're saying about impact and sustainability has to come from the whole company. It can't be a marketing activity. It has to exude from everything that you do as a brand, as a company.
Very interesting point. You mentioned that there's a lot of noise level, so attention is the primary driver for brands. But you also talked about what Hampus talked about was eroding trust and hence authenticity. But you mentioned a very interesting point as well that brands have a pressure to succeed. And if they are not succeeding, and if something they are working on in the garage, for example, it's very difficult to show it to the world or show something unfinished or take a position on something which is very pointed. What do you think? We can rotate the questions in the panel as well. What are some of the things brands are facing today?
One of the things I can say on this, I used to think storytelling was all that mattered, right? If you came from an authentic position and you knew how to tell a story, you could literally change the world with that. But I think society has evolved to a new point where the demand is higher. They want to see brands, companies, organizations do story living. It seems like it may be a foreign concept to some, but the idea of what is storytelling in practice, right? And it's almost a requirement. We talk about things, fancy things like ESG, risk and opportunity and things like this. And yes, I understand the importance of it. It's cool and everything, but you see what they're actually measuring there are things that are investor terms, right? How risky is it going to be for an investor, for brands to do ESG related things? And I've seen companies tank because of bad marketing campaigns, their ESG scores. But I'm not even thinking about that stuff anymore. I'm thinking about brands actually living with authenticity, not talking with authenticity, living with authenticity. Because if they expect their customers to jive with them and also live in that authentic presence as consumers, that's going to be required for brands nowadays. So I almost want to change every speech I give about storytelling and make it a requirement that if you're not living the story, storytelling doesn't matter anymore.
Very interesting point on story living. Great point, Chris. Olena, you have worked on both the nonprofit side and on the brand side as well. You have worked also in Humanium Metal at some point in time. We talked about that. How is working in at a brand versus working in a nonprofit or a cause similar or different?
Yeah, thanks so much for this question. For those who don't know, Humanium Metal is the initiative that comes from the NGO sphere. And one of those brilliant use cases where the NGO and brands and civil society come together. It was about destroying illegal weapons and turning the metal into commercial products and reinvesting the profits back into communities where the weapons were sourced, breaking the cycle of gun violence. And to be honest, I love that you're bringing this up. To be honest, I think that it is on the intersection where it happens. And that's like how brand, to your question originally, how brands are evolving. It is about staying relevant, about, not just living your own story, but being part of culture, right? Why that project was so successful is because we were actioning change of a big issue. Even here in Sweden, I mean, both Naimul, you and me are based in Sweden. Gun violence is one of the biggest issues. Like the level of gun violence in Sweden is biggest in Europe. And brands, how it turned out, and in the example of Humanium Metal, can, with their business, be the operative of change by using that metal and turning them into profit, creating commercial model around it. It is not a either or, and that's where especially new initiatives and startups have a chance to become a brand rather than, being a company or whatever. That's different. Being brand is being culture relevant, I think. And to your question, how is it different being in 100-year-old company or an NGO initiative? Is different in many different ways. And I think that playing to strengths of brands while being culturally relevant is the key to move brands forward. That's kind of the idea behind Cause Good Trouble as well.
Yeah.
Electrolux, of course, is a unique brand because we've always had sustainability as our core. But many younger brands, I think, are moving in that direction as well, maybe struggling, but that's the way, because being relevant to culture is actually actioning solutions to the challenges that the people are facing. And we are facing so many challenges right now. And if you're not addressing them as a brand, then why do you exist?
Very interesting point. Why do you exist as a brand if you're not addressing challenges? And you mentioned about the 100-year-old brand and then organization. And then you also talked about Electrolux, like you have sustainability at the core. So a lot of different nuances there. Aram, you are creating the next minds to build brands. Like that's what you're doing at Berghs School of Communication. It's the future of storytelling that is being created right out of from the factory and then going out in the market and then delivering that. From your perspective, how are brands evolving, or when you are teaching, or when you are running an institution? What are some of the things that you're trying to focus on into the young minds?
Yeah, so I think we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves in some respects. I think that most brands have done a huge amount of work to completely discredit their entire categories. So I think consumers are wildly skeptical, and I think that it's with, a sense of Nordic innocence that we kind of look through the prism that brands are catalysts of change. I would challenge anyone to walk through their apartment and their kitchen and open their refrigerator and pick a product that you chose because of a social value. So I think that I think consumers just want to live their lives a little bit better in lots of ways. I don't think they're looking at brands for storytelling, like in many ways. They've got Netflix subscriptions to that. So I think the trick is to authenticity should be a very expensive word that we use. And I think that brands need to be extremely focused on the small amount of places where they can credibly talk and make a difference and stop the bandwagon jumping that tends to happen in some ways. I think there's a disconnect between the Harvard Business Review articles we read and what normal people in normal places think and do. So
Okay.
I just think that's good to remember. So
Totally agree.
pick a small niche and then be extremely focused on it and be faithful and humble to your goals and objectives and transparent. And then mostly just like shut up and let your consumers live their lives might be what they're after. Maybe I'm wrong or cynical.
No, very interesting. Like I have a question. Like that's a very interesting perspective. So if I'm interpreting you right or maybe wrong, a brand's job is to solve a problem that it's solving and do it in a good way.
Yeah.
Then, and that's the core job for the brand.
Yeah, and kind of negate like the externalities. So like it's very nice if my shoe polish company doesn't pollute the river, but that's just like a hygiene thing, and there's laws and structures for that stuff. So it's like, yeah, I work with a bunch of very optimistic 20-something-year-old Scandinavians, and they want to change the world, but and that's a virtuous thing to do. I just think doing that through a branding platform might not be the most effective thing. There might be other social, political, other things that a very networked and connected world can help us do sometimes.
Amazing. And your thesis is that the consumers don't expect brands to do that
I
because
think
consumers want the problem solved.
I think schools like Berghs have been factories of greenwashing for so long that I think we've lost a lot of credibility. And I think we've jumped from cause to cause that we've caused a huge amount of harm in that. So I think the damage is real, and it might be long-term. Yeah, I think people are looking at more than just brands to make choices and kind of derive kind of belonging and a sense of tribalism and all that kind of stuff.
I agree. It's almost like this new form of it's impact washing, right? I mean, it's like they force this agenda, and that's the big problem. In America, for instance, every place you go to buy a chicken in a store, it says all over the packaging, no hormones, no antibiotics, all this. I mean, it's like I'm sitting here as a consumer like, oh my God, where are the chickens that are all hormonal and with all these it's strictly prohibited under federal law in America to use hormones or antibiotics in chicken. But they find the need to appeal to certain customers to kind of create this fake sense of safety that there already exists everywhere else to try to sway consumers. It's this effect that's been going on for a long time, and it erodes society, right, in many different ways, because people are forced to live by some sort of cadence when their products are failing every day. You know, Tesla's somewhat an example of this, where they have this product that everybody loved because it was environmentally sound. But then I read the horror stories of how it breaks down all the time, or there's issues with everything. So there are challenges with things. But what I can tell you, what people care more about than any kind of impacting is that their lives aren't negatively impacted getting there, right? And we cannot forget that. Some brands try to force their consumers to be co-authors of the product, and there's a time and place for that. But we cannot forget that they're also customers too, and they have standards for this, such as wanting to exist in a world that's better because of their product.
Very interesting point, finishing the argument with product. And hence my next question is people's expectation from brands, does it stop at product? Or do they expect anything more? I think it's a continuation of the thought, Adam, you brought in. So
I think first and foremost, people expect the product or the service, right? They're buying it for a reason. So to Adam's point, you're not necessarily voting with your wallet. You're not going out to save the world first. You're serving yourself, and you want to fix the problem that you have. But where you as a brand or as a company, because I mean, again, going back to it's the company that's trying, it's the branding in itself is not enough. It has to be all the actions of the company. But if you can make it a little bit easier to do the right thing, that would be helpful, right? Because the problem is, as a consumer, especially in the US, where the marketing laws are a little bit fucked up, and you can say no, you 0% fat in a 100% fat oil because the sizes are so small. It's ridiculous, right? So it's very difficult to navigate as a consumer. What can I actually trust in all of this? And if you can help brands with that, I mean, now the European Union is trying to make digital product passports for products, so you can start to look at, okay, how was this product actually made? What's the environmental impact? How can I recycle it? How can I reuse it? How should I take care of it? So there are things that are coming to help consumers out, but without that trust or without really knowing what to do with that becomes difficult. So I think as a consumer, I can take again fashion as example where we're working in now. You expect that the company that produced your shirt, they know how they had that production going. You expect that they know where the materials are coming from, whether or not the workers had, safe working conditions, living wages, there was no forced labor. They don't know that, right? So as a consumer, you expect things to be okay, but you can't expect that today. You need to have proof. So as a brand, if you can go above and beyond just your product promise in that you're serving, you're serving a need right now, but also how you're serving that need, and you can storytell, but with proof but I have actually really thought about how I'm producing this because I don't want to add to the problem. I want to fix the problem. I don't want to emit more carbon. Maybe I want to do a carbon neutral or even a carbon positive production because when I do this, I plant trees and so there's a lot you can do if you're serious about it as a company. It's not a branding exercise. It's a how do you contribute to society as the company? How can I make it easier to do the right thing? So consumers don't have to, they shouldn't have to choose between shitty product and slightly less shitty product. It should be what's out there is good. And that's the task of the companies like us, startups, scale-ups that design for this from the get-go, because it's also difficult if you're a 100-year-old company more that you have so many, you have a legacy, you have legacy systems, you have legacy business models, you have legacy shareholder expectations that you have to live up to, and it's very difficult to break that mold.
Yeah, to end
Very,
this point, I think
yeah.
I think that like that's a really good thing to realize. It's also good to know that like most consumers are not nihilists. They will like when they're given the option and the nudge and you've made it very easy for them to choose a slightly nicer product for the world in the world where externalities are more considered, like they will take it every time. But I don't think consumers are willing to make big sacrifices, just like we're not willing to make big kind of political sacrifices for this stuff. So it's like, so it might be, 1,000 little adjustments towards a better world, not revolutionary leaps in that respect.
Very interesting point, because what I hear, Adam, then is the thesis is that that impact is not on the buying agenda of the consumers. It could be that once they have bought, they would expect it to be impactful. And if it's not, it could lead to dissonance. And as Anja, as you were saying, that product still is in the center. Consumers have a need of being conscious and live in safety and all that. And they expect brands to deliver something over here. So here's consumer, here's product, they expect something. And to build that thing, brands need to have a layer of proof around it. So product still remains here, but the brands need to have a layer of proof around it. That yes, it was built this way. But you also brought in something very interesting. You talked about the 100-year-old brand versus startups, for example. Are marketing challenges different or branding challenges different? Can one side be more impactful than the other? Let's take that.
If I may just continue with that, I think it's easier for a startup to design for it from the beginning. So a sustainability strategy doesn't become an appendix to a business model that works against it, right? So that doesn't mean that companies like Electrolux and many others that have or try to be responsible in how you act. You have a lot of companies that do that and have done that for a long time, especially in the Nordics, right? That's also a reason why impact is so strong here, because there's a natural tendency of caring about nature, about your community, about the environment. So it's easier if you're a startup, but you lack also the resources. Maybe you don't have all the insights. So there's different. It's just different challenges. It's challenging for everyone, because currently I don't think there's a good recipe for impact neutral, impact positive company building.
I think all levels can mess this up at fairly catastrophic levels. I'm not to draw attention to any, but let's look at a heritage brand like Jaguar, the car company, right? If we all remember, it wasn't too long ago where Jaguar set out to change everything about their brand virtually overnight. Now, I can generally tell in the startup world within 5 minutes if a company is going to be successful. And you can tell by how well They know and understand their customer. The evidence of that is in their product. Gone are the days of having a solution being enough. You actually have to solve something, right? I'm so tired of hearing people talk about solutions, but have no measurements of people saying it solves something. When Jaguar did their whole rebrand, shift away from their heritage model, it was evident to me as a marketer, as just a human being walking down the street, the same as everyone else, that they didn't ask their customers. And if they did, they may have asked the wrong customers or only asked a few customers, or maybe they asked potential future customers. But what they didn't do is take into consideration the people that they already have. And that makes them prime for disruption. It's seen in their numbers. So even large brands trying to do big things that they think impacts the world can blow up if you don't actually do relevant things that matter to the people that got you there in the first place. We cannot forget where we came from, and we certainly can't lose sight of where we're going as a company, as humans. And I think that's what's happening right now. We live behind this kind of this greenwashing wall in a lot of brands. But if you really get down to the nitty gritty and look at numbers, if somebody were to audit their claims of impact or claims in marketing, we'd be in trouble. We should get rid of the IRS in America. I'm not making a claim there. We need to add an auditing of claims department in governments just to stop what's happening in marketing right now, because it's atrocious. And in real solutions, die on the floor of some accelerator floor because all the money went towards something that's greenwashed their way to fake success. And we've got to change this. We can't evolve as humanity if we don't.
Very interesting point. And with Jaguar, it's been a story. Like, we have seen all the sales coming in and how the new model was launched. But you touched a very important chord here, Chris, because product is in the center. But who is the product for? It's for the customer. So if the brand doesn't know the customer well, or their needs well, or their pain points well, the product will be flawed. And maybe in that customer understanding, the brand also needs to find out what do these customers care for, of what they, when it comes to world and bigger issues. So if we go to that part, we started the discussion today that there's a lot of issues which need to be solved. The summit's topic is impact. What role, whatever, small, medium, large, or limited, can brands play in addressing global social or environmental challenges, given all the limitations of whatever boxes we have in which they are living? What role can they play?
I think it all comes down to the humans. Naimul, we always talk about brands and everything. We have to remember brands were created by humans. Humans run them every single day. You know, humans come up with the amazing marketing campaigns that win all the fancy awards. Humans are the ones that make purchases. And the brands that educate consumers, not in a forced way that they don't want to, but actually teaches them something about the product that they have and about the problem that they're going to actually solve for them. That's the new form of sales, right? You know, helping your consumers understand how their life is directly going to be better because of their product and their existence. That's the gold standard nowadays.
Yeah, I think there's a huge role for brands to play in this space and be change makers. Humans are wonderful creatures, but we're really competitive social animals that want to signal status through our choices. And so that sounds like it's like an alien kind of conclusion. But I think once you kind of understand that, you can kind of gamify goodness in lots of ways, or you can encourage slightly better choices. And it's like, you know, being realistic with the impact of those choices, I think, is important, and authenticity plays a big role there. But understanding that, like, if you encourage and gamify those things for the humans that, you know, that like to play funny social games with each other, that can be a useful part of a big solution in the end.
Yeah, I also think that brands, companies are much quicker to create something, to do something, much quicker than, I mean, okay, a rally of people can do things quickly as well. But if we talk about, let's say, structural things with a lot of backup resources, brands move so much quicker. I mean, look at full industries that have had impact on people's lives, that were created fully by grassroots becoming startups, creating whole industries. And this is like in the past I mean, it's happening now, basically, and that will have impact on our lives, on us, in this Zoom, you know, and everyone who's listening. And that wouldn't be possible without the power of entrepreneurship, like with, you know, people just doing things and coming up with commercial models to make it sustainable, etc. But then, like, another aspect of it, I think, is power structures. I mean, this is something we haven't really talked about here, I think, but it's so important both in terms of countries, you know, political powers getting out of the way. I don't know how better to put it, but also power structures in companies. I mean, regardless of how big or small the company is, the board needs to be on board with whatever is to happen. And that, I think, can, I mean, usually that can be a big factor, right, of a lot of what we're talking about, like here, with impact, any kind of change within companies. So how that can be changed, I don't know, but maybe we can discuss in the panel.
No, very interesting point. Both of these points, like Adam, you talked about gamifying goodness. I think that's a great word. Like we should have it somewhere as a learning coming out from today. Well, Olena, you also mentioned something very interesting, that brands are agile. They have resources. They have the best talent. They are attracting best talent. They have playbooks, so they can do a lot of massive stuff in very short period of time with a lot of money backing if they want to. And so these are really good learnings. Let's see if we can put them to use. And I have a question related to the previous question that we had. What are the risks for a brand to align with something which is wrong? Can brands align with something or take a stand against something which is wrong, or take a stand with something which is right? Like, how difficult or easy, or do you think brands don't need to go into that space at all?
I think brands need to really think about the role that they play. You see, gone are the days where institutions ran everything. Brands often have more cultural movement power than institutions. With that comes responsibility, right? And you know, it's very interesting. You see brands like Patagonia, right? Patagonia doesn't consider themselves a brand, they consider themselves a mission. They're fascinating, right? They even had a policy at one point, don't know if it's still there. When I was in IRG, they came and spoke to us. And basically, if you were protesting for a cause that you believed in or something and you were arrested, they would bail you out, right? Like, talk about put your money where your mission in is, right? I used to think passion was enough, right? And then I thought purpose. Wow, I finally found purpose. I found what's next to it. But you see, until you find mission, right, in life, as a brand, as a company, as a founder, as a human, as parents, as everyday people, right? Until you find mission, you have no way to operationalize your purpose, right? And you can sense when a brand operationalizes their purpose, right? And that's why Patagonia doesn't even like to be thought of as a brand or company more, but they consider themselves a mission, and that's fascinating to me.
Operationalizing the purpose, a great word. Like, these are amazing phrases. Like, we're talking to brand people. Great. What do you think? Anya, how, you have worked in traditional brands. You're also working in a brand situation which is more a startup, and then that has grown and it works deeply in impact space. Can brands take a stand? Is it in the benefit, or is it something which brands need to avoid?
I think they must. I mean, a lot of them are trying to avoid it right now, especially again going back to the US, because it can have real consequences. We have customers working in the US that have been asked by their lawyers to tone down their talk about diversity and inclusion and ESG reporting because they can get punished for that. But I think consumers remember and employees remember. If you have gone out and said 2 years ago, we really care about the environment, that we've set up SDGs, we're going to do all these things, and all of a sudden you become, you don't do anything, or even worse, you start reversing some of those policies because there's a new president. So people will remember that, and you will not, you will not be, history will not remember you kindly after that in a couple of years when hopefully there's a new president. But so it really, you have to take a stance, because you will also, nobody wants, from a branding perspective, like you don't want people that don't really care. You want people that love you and people that hate you, because then you inspire emotions. Then you are something. If you're kind of a mellanmjölk, as you say in Sweden, then you're not worth anything as a brand. So you got to inspire, you got to take a stance, both for inspiring. Adam was talking about, gamifying, the good in people. So I think it's the responsibility of the brands to make, like, contributing to society. That's success. Success is not having a ton of money and throwing a wedding in Venice that upends the whole town. It's, what are you doing, again, that really contributes? What are you doing to build your community? What are you doing to build planetary health? What are you doing to drive a positive impact? And that's what you should be judged on, not how much money you have in your bank account. And that goes back to, board compensation, shareholder, like, what is it you're looking for in companies today? Because right now we're still only looking for profit. We work in impact tech, but our investors still want us to grow to a certain size. Now, obviously, we have a vision and a mission that keeps us in check, but you still have to balance this, we need to grow, versus, is this really, if we didn't have those constraints in terms of growing from a monetary and a revenue perspective, we'll be doing things differently. I think that's, you got to decouple successful performance from purely financial metrics.
I just to reiterate that, I spent a lot of time working on Ford, which is a car company from the US that you all know and maybe don't even love, because no one loved it. And all of their market research said that, like, people were totally ambivalent about it. And the worst thing in an attention economy is to be nothing in the middle. It is like, it is better to be hated and loathed and be firebombed. Well, not firebombed, but you know what I mean. It's better to take the heat and the high fives, because, like, in the world, in the world we live in, where attention is everything and values are very kind of malleable, brands kind of have permission to play everywhere, I think. I don't know if they can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I think that's kind of a scary part as well. Like, the attention economy situation is forcing, what you just said, brands are okay, I'm not saying that's exactly what you said, but like, that it's kind of better to be hated than just be okay, which is, it's a scary situation as well, right? I think it's great there are companies that are just doing great job and doing great products and giving people what they need, right? Product or service, and giving people jobs, and maybe that's like a great company to work at, and that maybe that's impactful as well, right? Like, I don't really, to be honest, I still don't know how broad we can stretch what the impact is, right? Like, it's still like everyone has their own definition, I think. But and I think that it's kind of like, if you are like our lives of our companies, lives of ourselves are limited, right? Like, if we're contributing with some, especially if it's something new, right? Like, probably we all, to the extent of our different situations, and different community situations, different contexts, etc., we're making choices, and that defines what's interesting to us, right? So something is just not interesting because that's the same as something else. And I think, talking about like attention economy, if we make innovation or sustainable innovation or whatever more interesting and just drive culture towards that, maybe that's something that could kind of long term move the needle. I don't know. It's all very easy to talk about for us on this panel, but to be frank, like, the reference that I was doing before was not about what you said, Naimul, like HR in the companies, that kind of impact. I was talking about like drone industry getting created from just grassroots, people creating drones, and now you know those drones are saving so many lives, and that, I mean, that's a big deal. So maybe even consumers don't have to, I mean, I don't know if consumers expect it or not.
Okay.
Maybe they shouldn't. Maybe they shouldn't expect it either. But like, if we work in companies, why? I mean, why they do it or not, right? It's on us. Like, maybe we don't even have to explain it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Quick last minute question. We are moving into a panel with our impact specialists now. Before we move there, very quick 10-second responses. Should brands leave the job of impact making to the impact sector and nonprofits and just focus on product development? Take a stand. And I can go around the room. Chris.
I think brands play a part in impact making, and it starts with living it themselves, not forcing it on their customers, right? And if you want customers, if customers buy from brands that are like them, then they need to take a moment and actually listen to what their customers care about, whether that's impact or otherwise. They'll find out that their impact measures just won't be impact washing when they're actually doing things that they care about at the same time that their customers do.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Adam, short.
Yeah, I think brands have a massive role to play. I do wish brands would be a little bit more like someone that turns up at a house party and proves themselves to be very funny instead of knocking on the door and saying the funny guy's here. So I think like less putting impact front and center and more living it and proving it and doing it and being a bit more doing it with a bit more chill.
Okay. Great point. Olena, short.
Sorry, I'm still affected by the funny guys here. Why brands exist?
No, should brands leave the job of impact to the impact sector and nonprofits, or should they actively support it? Very quick stand.
Yeah, of course, brands or companies are an integral part of it. Actually, in many aspects, a mover of it.
Okay.
And we never actually, I think, I know you wanted a short answer, but like we never know how the impact goes, right? Whether it can be, you know, one person inspiring the company to do something, or the company inspiring someone, or a whole movement, right? But at the end of the day, I think that the important part is that companies contribute to more life than to death of ecosystems, of people, etc.
Okay. Very good point. Contribute to more life. Anja.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? Because we believe that brands can make a difference. But I think brands have as we've already talked about, they have the ability to impact like popular opinion. They can sway trends and how we think about the world. So there's the ability to influence. There's also just the amount of resources, the amount of like brands are wealthy. Brands can lobby, big companies lobby governments. They can affect how regulations are created. They can, so there's so much power in brands that NGOs just don't have. They have authenticity, but they don't have a ton of budget, right? So you need to really join hands on that. So brands should absolutely take a much bigger role than we are today to help fix this problem.
Very good. Amazing discussion. A big thanks to all the panelists who could take the time out. Thank you, Anja. Thank you, Chris, Olena, and Adam for being here today for a very interesting conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Amazing. With that, we move to our impact panel. Very interesting. So anyone who is on the impact panel, if you could raise hand, it'll be very easy for me to bring everyone here in that way. Just a minute. The switch takes a short time. Just a minute. Speakers can stick around. I'll just change the rules from here so that you can be on the other side. And let's see now. So I'm bringing in Juha, and Sini is here, Malin is here. I also see Jesper, amazing that you could make it. And Elinor is here. Amazing. Hi, we see everyone coming in. Hi, Sini. Hi, Juha. Hi, Elinor. Hi, Malin. Thank you. I think Jesper is also coming in. We'll just see if this works. Yeah. Amazing. First of all, a big thanks for being here. Very, very interesting conversation in our last panel. It went quite well. And I think that the underlying message that came out from the last panel was, of course, brands' primary job is to create solutions for people, and they need to understand these people well enough, because otherwise solutions will be created here and the people will be here and their needs will be here. But they also have a lot of power, a lot of money, they have the best talent, and if they want, they can, in addition to that, go in and support and accelerate impact. So I think with that, let's begin our conversation. And I'll go around the room for a quick introduction for everyone. So tell us about yourself, what are you doing and your organization. If we could start with Elinor.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you and be here. My name is Elinor Westerberg, and I am Head of Strategic Business Development and lead of the Innovation Hub, focusing on scaling impact at the Swedish Childhood Cancer Fund, Barncancerfonden. My role involves driving innovation, developing new initiatives, partnerships, as well as securing funding of those initiatives. And me and my team work very closely, both with internal leaders and external stakeholders, to move us closer to our vision, always with the impact first mindset. And we can never be satisfied with less than solving the problem entirely, so that every child affected shall survive and live without side effects or complications from the cancer. And we're not quite there yet.
Amazing. Thank you, Elinor, for the important work you are doing, and for being very transparent that we are not there yet. I think there's a lot of great work happening, but the challenges are too big. So thank you for being there and doing this. Jesper.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Naimul, for bringing me on board to this panel. My name is Jesper. I got a bad cold the other day, so if my voice is not there, bear with me a little bit. I'm the founder of Impact Hub Stockholm. We founded one of the first co-working spaces in Sweden more than 20 years ago, where we put the community first, so to speak. So how can we create a space where we bring change makers together to, have an impact on society by bringing in an entrepreneurial action? And since then, we grown this movement or this community to more than 130 locations in more than 60 countries. So we host numerous events every year. We host hundreds of different programs with different collaborators, not just within the Impact Hub ecosystem, but with multiple stakeholders to create a network or a community of global change makers who can create a better world, so to speak. So thank you again, Naimul, for bringing me into this panel.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jesper. You guys are doing such amazing work. I remember when I moved to Stockholm, my first day, Impact Hub was the place I moved to. Like the place I moved to, like that was the ecosystem I got connected to.
Away from home. Anywhere in the world you are, you find an Impact Hub, you find a community of like-minded people who will support you in your endeavor.
Thank you for doing that important work. Juha, over to you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Naimul. Really good to meet you all. Juha Leppänen, chair of the board of Demos Helsinki, which is a think tank with around 70 people working in 30 countries, 100 projects every year. Non-profit for impact democratic organization working with local, national, multilateral governments, philanthropies, and companies. Very happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. It'll be great too, because when we were constructing this panel, it was very important to kind of figure out how can we best represent ecosystem organizations which are directly doing work, running ecosystems, running think tanks. So thank you for taking the time out and being here with us today. Malin, over to you.
Thank you. It's really a privilege to be here. My name is Malin Flemström, and I'm the CEO of the Hunger Project Sweden. I've been with the organization for more than a decade in different roles, spanning from program leadership, fundraising, and communications. And since 2020, I've had the privilege to lead the Swedish office. So the Hunger Project is a global movement of individuals and organizations with a mission to facilitate individual and collective action to transform the systems of inequity that create hunger and cause it to persist. We currently work in 22 countries and in partnership with over 12 million people in over 10,000 communities that are working to end their own hunger and the hunger of those around them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marlene, and amazing work you guys are doing in the impact ecosystem. Thank you for that. Sini, over to you.
Hello, I'm Sini Harki, Executive Director of Greenpeace, a global environmental organization, but I'm leading the Nordic office, so we cover Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and Norway, and work on issues such as oil, agriculture, forests, and climate. Nice to be.
Amazing. Thank you, Sini, and a big thanks for being here to everyone. Let's jump into our conversation. We started with Hampus. He came from Pale Blue Dot, and we talked about how impact is developing. We focused a lot on climate. Then we moved into the other side, which was the brand side. Now let's move back to impact. My question is the idea of impact losing its appeal or power on global stage? What would be your take on that? Are we still intent on building massive impact as a civilization? And anybody can go around. We'll keep it very interactive.
I mean, I could start just by saying something. I mean, you could definitely argue that the word impact is used, if I may, a little fast and loose these days, I believe. But I think it's important, and I would like to reclaim its true meaning. I mean, impact in my context, or in many of our contexts, purpose-driven civil society, that translates to the direct effect on the utmost purpose. I mean, which in our case is to solve the childhood cancer issue, of course. And I'm also of the opinion that the true meaning of impact has perhaps never been more important than it is now. I mean, so impact isn't really, I think, losing relevance, but it's rather perhaps being, I don't know, underutilized, especially in civil society. I think in this era of global challenges, values-driven organizations represent somewhat of an untapped force here, even though I heard what they said in the brand discussion before. Like we have some tools at hand, but not all of them. But still, I mean, we see a shift coming, I think, where the future of impact will rely more heavily on ecosystem collaboration, obviously. And that means actors across both, you know, government, academia, business, civil society joining forces around shared goals, not just funding or visibility. I mean, when we lead with purpose, which perhaps is the strong suit that we bring to the table, and work across boundaries, impact becomes much more of a shared force, so to speak, not just an idea or a concept or something to, you know, gather around. And I believe that we have an important role to play in this as a civil society. Okay, thank you so much, Elinor. Sini.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe unsurprisingly, I tend to agree. I think maybe the time of the buzzword being the biggest is over. But I also really think we shouldn't be fooled by kind of, at the moment, yes, media being completely controlled by topics like war and defense and big men behaving badly. But it shouldn't blind us from the fact that many of the things that we were talking about, like climate change, of course, it hasn't gone anywhere, but not only has it gone anywhere, but in any global polls that have been made, it's still 80% of people in every country who think we need to solve this. This is one of our most urgent issues that we need to solve. None of the social and economic issues that have brought about this paradigm shift that we are seeing now that have brought about the surge of right-wing populists. None of them have been solved. None of them are close to having been solved. So or if thinking of climate change and the energy revolution that is going on, yes, now we have a few fossil fuel states who are trying to turn back time. It will be an attempt, but that's it. Look at China. They never built more solar or wind like what's happening now. They're building like the amount of what Germany or US has in a month. So that revolution is ongoing. There's a lot of innovations that need to be made, a lot of applications that need to be made to facilitate the electrification of societies, which is unstoppable by now. So I think all of that is still happening. All of those issues still need to be solved. And we just really need to keep focus and remember that the fact that something else is dominating the news now hasn't changed a lot of the basics.
Okay, so you talked about focus and you talked about getting there as well. And I think, Elinor, you started like we are almost getting there. So I think those are two important threads there. Over to you.
Yeah, no, great. And I would agree with the previous statements. I tend to think that we've had quite a privileged moment in human history, especially in the Nordic context, if we look at the last 40 years, in which we've lived through likely the most liberal imaginable moment in the history of humankind. And in that context, to think that impact is something disconnected, a separate sector, a separate way of functioning. If we look at what the far right is doing right now, if you look at the news from the Shanghai Cooperation Forum, if we look at what's happening in the world, there's a lot of impact. So it's not a time to not think that impact doesn't matter. It's time to understand that everyone has impact one way or the other. And it's deeply political, it's deeply structural. So yes, I would agree with Malin that it's or Elinor, that it's more important than ever, but impact is also getting very serious. And I think that's the message that we would need to reflect on.
So very interesting. Impact is getting very serious. Thank you, Juha. Malin, I saw your hand maybe.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, from our perspective, from my perspective, I see that the word impact is, it's still everywhere. However, representing sort of a global for impact organization that are very much reliant on funding coming through the organization in order for us to do the work we're doing. There's also this trend I see that impact has been somewhat diluted into outputs and activities, that it's a lot of focus on counting things rather than looking at sort of real impact is disruptive and it is systemic and it will shift power and be uncomfortable as well. So I think there's also a challenge in the fact that there's a heavy donor pressure to reward safe sort of short-term results rather than to work in a more trust-based model, recognizing that impact takes time to achieve.
Very, very interesting point. Like impact takes time to achieve. With that, Jesper.
Yes, thank you. I'm feeling like I'm sitting in a school bench here, raising my hand. Can I talk now? Can I something? I want to jump in much earlier in the conversation, but that's the way of doing a panel and others in Zoom. But anyway, I think I just want to highlight or bring up what Juha was telling about what impact really is. Because we all have impact on an everyday basis with all what we do, everyone, right? So your question here is the word impact being diluted? Yes, very much so. A quick anecdote, when we started Impact Hub, it was actually called The Hub 20 years ago, but about 10 years in the line, we wanted to make sure that we wanted to understand what we were doing. Why do we do what we're doing? Because we felt like the hub was too generic. We could do anything. No, we want to have an impact. So we changed the name globally to Impact Hub. So everyone who belongs to this is having an impact. But what does that really mean, right? Because you have an impact always, every day. So I think some of the conversation we're having here from CD as well. It's like we're just making numbers out of it, or so I think it's a good conversations to have. What is impact? Because we're having it all the time, and I work a lot with Vinnova as well, which is the Swedish innovation agency. We talk about innovations. We had this conversation here as well. How do we create innovation that that creates a better world for everyone, right? And this also takes time. So I believe that we have in the system some flaws, because a democratic system where we have re-election every 4 years, you don't have this long-term perspective on creating positive change. Is that what impact is? Is that positive change? Because impact, you can have a bad impact as well on the environment. So how do we strive for having a positive change long-term, I think? And if that word is impact, or if it's social entrepreneurship, or if it's democratic values, so I don't have the answer to that, but I think that's where we should have the conversation.
Very good points, fair points. Like, let's move from the word impact. Let's talk about what does meaningful impact look like? Like, we had this word coming up several times, like we are almost getting there. Are the challenges too big? Are we under-resourced? Is that a problem? In whatever spheres, like we have a think tank hat here, we have an ecosystem hat here, some organizations which are doing direct impact. Do we think we have enough with us to tackle the challenges?
Yes, absolutely, Naimul. We definitely have enough resources, money, time to create whatever we want. We know that, right? But the problem is we're doing it so short-handed, and we don't understand what is the cause, what is the real problem. I think a lot of the innovation, a lot of the solutions that we come up with are only solutions to the effect of the challenge that we have, not to the root cause. And to address the root cause, that takes much more time and collaboration between different organizations that doesn't talk to each other right now. So we are diluted. Everybody's doing their things. Great stuff, everyone. You're doing great stuff. But if we want to create a long-term shift and create positive impact, we need to do it differently and more in as an ecosystem.
Elinor.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think you have a lot of valid points here. And also what you said before, I think about KPIs and measuring. How do we know that we are actually doing meaningful impact? How can we be sure if we are not even sure what we mean when we say the word impact? But I mean, I think one, and as you say, it takes time. It's difficult. We're doing a lot of things. It's a bit, silofied, everything. You do something here, you do something there. I am a strong believer of like letting the traditional KPIs go when it comes to impact initiatives. You have to look at, you have to somehow try and make some kind of goals out of your utter mission or vision or goal or whatever you want to call it, and then you have to use them as beacons in the light. That's you're not going to see them as something that we have to pass and do a check on them. This is according to all of our experience or knowledge and everything. These goals or beacons, we think, is what is going to matter, really matter. From my perspective, in my context, when it comes to childhood cancer, we have to put up some beacons that will lead us in the right direction, and then with all means possible, new initiatives, different kind of tools, different thinking, big ideas, high ambitions, whatever, and dare to go with all our abilities, just go towards that, and that's how. Lead with purpose and lead towards that beacon in the light. Some will fail, some will not be good or work. Fail fast, don't do that, do something else. But use it as like the star in the sky, and just dare to go in that direction. Then I think, we will create some kind of movement in that direction, and it will be really difficult to measure. But I don't think that you should do something because it's difficult to measure that. I mean, that creates that kind of closed loop. You do what you measure, and you measure what you can measure, and then you will end up just doing the same things. So I think you have to dare and let go of those classic KPIs. That I would think is one solution here.
Very interesting point, because I think beacon gives you direction. When you are at the first beacon, you can see, okay, how much fuel did I lose if I'm an airplane or car or whatever I'm driving? How much effort did I lose? So I think beacons are a good way. It's a great way of thinking. Sini,
Short. Also, as like civil society, as you're saying, Jesper, it's like we have a lot of issues with short-term planning. But I mean, from a civil society perspective, maybe that's also a strong point, that we can actually be quite long-term into things and be the drivers and the initiators there. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Sini.
Thanks. I would maybe just say 3 small things. So one point, meaningful is something that means something to someone. I think that's a good starting point. That's where the motivation comes from. Secondly, I think for a lot of organizations, it's a good measure if you think of impact is meaningful when it's proportionate to the problem that you're trying to solve. Then it's not, something tiny, something meaningful in that sense. Maybe one way of looking at that as well is meaningful impact is something that makes a net positive impact. Another way of looking at the proportionate thing. I think for us in Greenpeace, meaningful impact, often means that we are looking for points to get something rolling, to maybe find a strategic way to have an impact, let's say, in a decision or a political process or a cultural process where we can make something happen with our limited resources that will begin some kind of a cumulative change in one way or another.
Very interesting point. Something for someone, and I loved it what you said, proportionate to the problem. And I think I've worked a lot in EU-based projects. When the project finishes, everything finishes. Most of the projects never scale. So the intent of the funding that the ecosystem is providing is to scale the impact, like this is where it is now. Can we expand the bubble this big? But then it stays in the bubble and it just... So very interesting point. Over to you.
No, it's super interesting reflections. Perhaps just to add one, which is a distinction, which is a little bit artificial, but I just say it's a simplification for the sake of potential clarity, which is to think of impact from a downstream. So you have a goal, for instance, influencing a certain policy process and getting to that goal in which you can provide a milestone, provide a little bit of a roadmap. It's still very hazy in terms of how to get there, but you still have an amount of things you can imagine in terms of the pathway. And then the upstream impact, which I think Malin referred to with the systemic changes, or Jesper with the root causes, which is very, very different. So then the question is influencing a policy process, whether or influencing how policy processes are conducted and what are the conditions around that. And on the latter, I think it's important to have a little bit of a distinction there, because the methods and ways of engaging on those are very different. And on the latter, how to influence on the root causes, on the systemic change, there's no toolkit. There's very little in terms of actually codifications that are helpful in us moving forward. So it's really, really important to have an amount of humility, reflection, and tactical imagination to really try to understand together in terms of how those routes could look like. I personally said that the biggest impact right now would be in imagining forms for collective action in actually getting towards that systemic change. So it's also how we organize ourselves and how do we bring those actors together. I know that there's a bit different language. I also think language really matters. To scale, I don't think it's very useful when we talk about systemic change, whilst it may be useful when we talk about specific solutions. So there's a lot of work ahead in terms of having the amount of nuance and reflection to help us move forward.
Thank you so much, Juha, for those thoughts. I had somebody here, but was it?
I think it was me.
Okay. Yes, feel free to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think that that sometimes maybe the challenge of sort of recognizing when we are achieving impact is that the impact that is created is not always countable, but it definitely is recognizable. And I think also something looking from a perspective of working in an ecosystem of partnerships, it's really the challenge sometimes of claiming impact as a stakeholder, as the result of the work of the organization and the impact that are derived from the system change approach is a collective result. So that's also sometimes a challenge to sort of capture and measure that impact that an organization has on a systemic change approach. I think for us at the Hunger Project, meaningful impact is all about agency, and it's also when communities themselves define what success looks like, when women challenge power hierarchies, and when people can hold governments and institutions accountable. So sometimes the signs of impact are not visible for many years, and therefore they're not included in a report to a funder or in the larger scope. So and as someone was mentioning as well, you know, there's impact is not always positive. It can be negative effects of impact as well.
Very good point. Malin, there might.
And I just need to respond to Malin's say because I love what she was saying. And the only thing I'm missing, maybe, or might just add to that, is like meaningful impact is really happening when communities thrive without you, right? So when your organization, your company, what you're doing, you don't need that anymore, right? Because you achieved it, and the communities just thrive and is doing it. So thank you, Malin, for that. Great.
Okay, self-governed communities. So I'm just checking. There's some comments here. Matt has a question, so maybe somebody can respond there. He has a question on DAOs as a tool for impact. Last question for the panel, and maybe quick answers here. We have been having a discussion with the previous panel on brands and if the brands can be vehicles of change going forward. What does our impact panel feel like? How can brands be more contributory to positive impact? Any quick thoughts over there? Brands, organizations. Yes, Rini.
Yeah, well, I think from my point of view, I try to meet a lot of people who work in companies and get out of the NGO books. I think a lot of new things usually are the result of new encounters. And I think what I see is people who want to do the right thing, people who want to solve the problems they're worried about, and people who very often still feel like the leadership doesn't have the same idea, or that they are only focused on results, and people don't really feel like they have the agency or the power to strive for the impact that they'd like to see. So I think maybe brands need to be a bit more brave in also listening to the employees, also maybe going back to the roots of, why they wanted to start doing this in the first place. Maybe we just need more spaces to reflect and meet new people and, remember why we're here for. Basically, it's not very good advice, but somehow I feel like it's a bit of a back to the basics moment. And I also feel like things are changing so rapidly. We could be in the place in Europe as well, in many countries in a few years, where we really need people to stand up for really basic stuff like human rights and democracy. It's just, we need to be pretty aware of what our own values are, and that all of us need to step up to defend them.
Thank you, Srini. Malin, and then Elinor.
I think that brands sort of need to see themselves not as sponsors, but as facilitators of change, because brands can influence, they can lobby, and they often have more resources than organizations in the nonprofit sector have available. I think that they need to find partners that align with their values, their vision, their mission and principles, and to build a partnership based on trust. because we know that trust-based funding is all about shifting the power, and we can, with trust-based funding, move away from top-down solutions and create a space for communities to lead themselves. So I think that when brands commit to long-term partnerships and they partner with local actors, impact becomes deeper and it becomes more authentic and often more transformative than, you know, any project plan can predict. So the return isn't just visibility, it's legitimacy, it's resilience, and it's stronger societies.
Very interesting point that brands need to shed their lens of visibility and kind of get more involved and shed their lens of sponsorship. And so very interesting points. Elinor, your hand was up first, then Jesper, and then Juha.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I can't get the digital hand to work.
Yeah,
but,
that's okay. That's
good thing
okay.
that I could just wave like that. Yeah, but I'm not going to talk long, but I'm just going to say something very quickly about our flagship initiative, Brainchild. I don't know if you've heard of it, but if you haven't, Google Brainchild, which began with a question: what if we already have the answers but simply can't read them yet? I mean, in the era of data, AI, tech development, we've built up a lot of infrastructures, tumor biobanks, registries, etc. So basically, it's a gold mine. To build that kind of data ecosystem, that's not something that we can do by ourselves. It's a high ambition to collect all data on every child in the world. Could we then see breakthroughs we couldn't even dream about yesterday? So I think it's and in building that ecosystem, we are finding partners. We are reaching out and building that up around the issue of shared health data, which is in the center of this or the enabler of it all, so to speak, and collecting or gathering actors that have the same vision or the same drive as we do. I mean, shared health data that will enable a lot of things. So I think this is coming from our side of the table. Maybe it's difficult for brands to initiate or drive impact initiatives because, as you say, everyone must be true to what their mission is and what they're supposed to do here in the world. But in those ecosystems, they are invaluable. I mean, we couldn't build this without the tech partners. All of these brands, these very important players coming from that side of the table. But you just have to find a mutual vision or mission that everyone's values are aligning around. Yes, everyone wants this change, shared health data, but from different perspectives. But we can all, grab each other in the race to make that happen, so to speak.
Very good point, Elinor. And I think it brings back to what Olena was saying, because I think if I go 5 pages back, she was saying that brands can make things happen because they have the playbooks, they have the best talent, they have the resources, but they can't do it in their own infrastructure, for example, because their infrastructure is about creating solutions, products. So maybe that's where collaboration comes in, that there's an alternative infrastructure here, fuse in.
Exactly.
But great point. Jesper.
Yes, thank you. A great point here from everyone. I'd love to have more of these discussions, actually. I wasn't part of the initial intro to this workshop, but because I was just wondering how you define the brand. Is it a corporate, or is it an NGO, or is it an influencer, or is I am my own brand, etc., etc. So what can brand, how does brands influence or have an impact? I think I want to sort of go a little bit further to what Elinor was saying around, everybody can have an impact. Every brand, regardless if you're a corporate, an NGO, or whatever, in your sense and with what you can bring to the table, so to speak. But if you want to create long-term, systemic change, impact, I think you need to sort of step away from your own brand somehow and see if you can find a collective brand, if you say something like that. From an Impact Hub side, what we're trying to do is we don't say to our local makers in Istanbul or New York or whatever what they should do. It's we create this beacon, right? This is where we want to achieve. We want to create change, impact, etc. And how you do that locally and who you collaborate with We don't want to, tell you how to do that. So if we together as human species want to create, long-term systemic change, maybe we should put Mother Earth as a brand and say, here's a great brand. It's called Earth. How do we create a positive change for the next 200 generations to live on this fantastic planet that we share as a brand? If that could be a brand, I don't know. So great conversation. Thank you for
Very
bringing this
interesting
together.
point. Yes, but Mother Earth has a brand and then 200 years perspective, because I think we are living in a point in time and we kind of, our decisions are driven there, our financials work like that, politicians have a slightly longer period. So I think great that you mentioned those 2 points. Juha, over to you.
Somebody said a good phrase, it's about contributions, not attributions. And I think that speaks to a lot of the points raised. I, first of all, really welcome this discussion. So thanks for hosting that. I think it's very important to provide support and create shared spaces for almost like creating vocabularies around this. I know how difficult the political moment and the environment we're facing right now is. And we used to have, I think, quite a lot of these discussions around whether it's corporate activism, whether it's something else. Then I do think that brands in the end are accountable for the impact one way or the other. So to understand the systems in which you operate, to understand how they might change, with whom to work with, that may even lead into a strategic advantage. That's the old narrative in the climate work, one of them. So I do think that still holds. And then the third one, in this sense of uncertainty that we're facing right now, and I think this was something that was raised in the previous panel as well, brands do have a potential for becoming symbols, and with that showing some light as a beacon out from a very dark and hazy maze. And that shouldn't be underestimated, but only if and when embracing the accountability for the impact.
Very interesting points you have, and I've written it here. Somewhere it will come out in the summary, brands as beacons. So I think that's a great thought. With that, we'll close the panel. I'll offer my big thanks to all the panelists who could take the time out. So Sini, thank you from Greenpeace Nordics. Elinor, thank you so much for Barncancerfonden. Malin from the Hunger Project, Juha from Demos Helsinki, and Jesper from Impact Hub. Thank you so much for taking the time out and this amazing conversation.
Thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to our next session, which is the last session, which is we'll request our startups to come in and start pitching. I'll just try to move some of our panelists here. Okay, so first of all the panelists for the next session, if they could raise hands, I can check it from here and I'll start bringing you. So first up, startups I'll bring in a little while. So startups can turn down their hands for now, just the panelists initially. So Margarita, and then let's say if we can get Magnus here. Timo is here. Malin is here. Roots. Hannah is here. So this will take half a more minute and then everybody can be on the main screen. Let's just see, Makar is here as well. Michael is here, and let's see. Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. It'll take me a quick minute to just get everybody here. I do see Philip as well. So I hope we have everybody here. If I could not get everybody, please raise your hand and we'll get you here. But thank you so much for taking the time out and joining this amazing discussion. It's a very interesting evening. We started with Hampus from the Pale Blue Dot and went into impact in an identity crisis. Then we went on to the marketing and brand side. What is brand's role in this? And just now we finished a very interesting panel with impact panelists, again going into how impact ecosystems should evolve. Now is a time to get some of our startups in the room, but before we do that, I'll request, let's see, just a minute. Roots, if I can. Okay, I think everybody's here. Let's have a quick introduction from everyone. So I'll request maybe Philip, maybe I can't see you well, so that's why the focus went to you. So let's have a quick introduction from you. Tell us who you are, and if you are from an organization, tell us what you do.
All right, sorry about the lighting, but hi everybody. Philip Eligultekin, an angel investor from Stockholm. I focus like B2B and AI services, and also life science and biotech. Also part of a couple of co-investment companies with other angels. In one of them were about 42 angels called Siltbridge, and one of them were about 28 angels called Wicked Angel, with really diverse backgrounds of expertise, and looking for early stage, pre-seed, seed, ideation stage companies, and happy to help.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Philip. Let's go to Hannah.
Hello, good evening from Helsinki. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. My name is Hanna Nyholm. I'm an angel investor, and I'm also the CEO and founder of She Investments, where we support female founders in finding capital. We activate female investors, and we help startups to go into international markets. I'm also on the board of FIBAN, the Finnish Business Angel Network. I'm very happy to see that our wonderful CEO is here as well tonight. And very happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. And good luck to all the pitching companies.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And you've been in some of our previous summits as well. Thank you for all the work that you're doing in the ecosystem. And I was actually checking somewhere in LinkedIn that you have launched some training somewhere. So we'll talk about that after the session. Maybe we can get some help from you in Connect. Magnus, over to you.
Magnus Eriksson, nuclear physicist by background, done 2 exits back in the days, some 25 years ago. I'm now a general partner of Stoaf, a Swedish 100% private VC fund. We invest in deep tech and life sciences. Myself, mostly focus on our deep tech companies. I'm on the board of a number of semiconductor companies, but also some medtech companies and a water cleaning company. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Magnus. Great to have you here. And in a very recent session like this, Stockholm Demo Day, loved your feedback to all the startups. Let's go to Marlene from FemInvest.
Hi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be part of this panel. I'm Marjolein Bernitz, working for FemInvest. I'm currently partner and investment manager for our venture fund. And together with Mikaela Berglund and Pia Ganeva, we are raising our first venture capital fund. We invest in tech and retail. And we have something behind us. This is called FemInvest, a big community, 50,000 in the Nordics, where we want to accelerate women ownership and financial empowerment. And the venture capital fund is an add-on to that. Yes, I'm very excited to be part of this. I guess everyone knows that female founders don't receive that much funding, and that they're in the 1 digits in venture capital funding. So we're here to change this, because we can see that diverse teams are performing better, 63% higher performance, and you have like 35% higher return on invest. And on top of all this, they're also undervalued. So that's the alpha we see from our fund. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
today.
Thank you so much, Marlene. We have been talking a lot about mission and impact, so and purpose driven. So I think the purpose behind FemInvest is awesome. So thank you for doing great work over here. I just got a message from Ruth here. Seems to be some technical problem. I need to reach out, but let's see. Margarita, over to you.
Hi, Naimul. Thank you for having me, and good to see a lot of familiar faces.
So I'm an ex-Wall Street. I spent my career in the States and have recently relocated to Stockholm. And I've spent the last 3 years building my own portfolio of startup investments. And I'm also part of two angel syndicates. One is RadCap that if it's above 50% female owned, we are collectively investing in female owned startups. So that's one. And then I have my own close-knit angel group. We don't have a name yet, but we're getting there. So, and right now I've put my founder's hat on and I'm the new CEO of Secondary, a marketplace where you can sell shares in a private company. And I have a lot of respect for founders who are fundraising. So even more so than before. So look forward to the pitch.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Margarita, and for wearing so many different hats. It'll be amazing to have your perspective on how startups should be evolving when they come here in pitching. Mekar, over to you.
Thank you, Naimul. Hi, everyone. Great to see so many interesting faces. And I must mention over here that it's extra heartwarming to see so many people working for more investments for women. So She Investment is here, FemInvest is here, RadCap is here, and all the other great work that's happening in the ecosystem. So fantastic to see you all here. I am the CEO for Venture Cup Sverige, which is Sweden's largest national competition for startups and business ideas. We're a national organization, ideal nonprofit, and we work in all regions of Sweden, Northwest, East, and South. And we work with early stage and idea stage startups. So we are a competition. We have a platform. We offer feedback, a quality stamp. So we've been doing this for 27 years now, started at the initiative of McKinsey and Company. And since 1998, over 30,000 ideas have competed at Venture Cup. So all the startups and early stage ideas that are here in the audience today, I would encourage you to go ahead and apply for the competition. That's open as well. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. We're open for a month, but the earlier you apply, the earlier you get feedback from real investors and the ecosystem. So yeah, great to be here. I'm looking forward to hear some awesome pitches today.
Thank you so much, Mekar. There's so much that has come out of Venture Cup in terms of startups, innovations, and entrepreneurs. So big recommendation. So anybody who can go and apply there, and to other great organizations represented here. So please feel free to share your links so that startups and founders can directly access you. I'm also putting your LinkedIn profiles over here. With that, let's go to Michael.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. My name is Michael. I'm a long-term social entrepreneur, and now I represent an organization called Ashoka, which is the biggest network of social entrepreneurs in the world. We came up with the term social entrepreneurship 40 years ago, and we have been supporting social entrepreneurs ever since. We're actually the biggest funder of social entrepreneurs in the world. So we have some 4,000 Ashoka fellows, of which 27 is in the Nordics. And we're looking for a very specific kind of social entrepreneurs. We're looking for one that has a new idea, that tackles the root causes of a problem, and that we can say have systemic impact. And when we identify these social entrepreneurs, we support them financially, with strategy, especially with expanding globally, with network, with legal support. And we see that our fellows develop 2.5 times better than comparable organizations over the next 10 years after they become Ashoka fellows. So that's very short about Ashoka. And we do both for profit and non-profit, especially non-profit now that we see that there's so many investors that support for profit. So we see a big need in the non-profit section, but a lot of hybrid business models.
Amazing. And I think I love the fellowship model as you're discussing, and the focus on solving root causes and bringing systemic change. So I think great work over there from Ashoka. Let's go to, I think Ruth dropped out, but I'll still put her LinkedIn over here. Maybe there's some technical issues. We'll try to get her in during the session. Tina, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here again. I'm the CEO of Finnish Business Angel Network. So it's nice that we have two representatives from Finland, actually more than two, but from FIBAN. FIBAN is the biggest angel investor network in Europe. We have approximately 600 members. And usually our members are investing 30 to 50 million euros in 1 year. And actually, we made a survey among those companies who have been pitching in FIBAN's events 2024, and they have received more than 40 million euros funding, not only from FIBAN members, but still it proves that our process is quite good. So if you are interested in applying funding from FIBAN, just go to our fiban.org website and you can follow the instructions. And Naimul, actually, last time when I was here, my raise hand was not working, and I can see it now that it's not working either. So should I
Okay.
send you again some message that, okay, I want to say something, because I was waving like a lot last time and nobody saw it, and I was thinking, okay.
No, I'll keep that in mind. So thank you so much. Sometimes Zoom gives that problem. Ruth had a problem, so she was having problem coming on the panel. So I totally understand this. But Tina, thank you so much for being here and the amazing work that you guys are doing at in Finland through FIBAN. We hear so much about the network over here.
Yeah.
So great work, and for your positive engagement in the entire ecosystem. Timo, over to you.
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Timo. I'm with Plug and Play Tech Center. I'm based in Hamburg. Plug and Play is a family-owned venture capital firm headquartered in the US with small offices around the globe. And besides our VC business, we also do a lot of corporate innovation work. So we help large corporations to scout and to get in touch with young tech companies. And I'm part of the Nordics team. So we're also working with clients in Denmark, in Sweden, and hopefully also soon in Finland. So currently we're also talking to the city of Tampere and some other bigger, larger corporations. And yeah, we do pre-seed and seed stage investments. We invest in around 250 startups a year, and in all kinds of industries. And yeah, happy to be part of this.
Thank you so much, Timo, and thank you for being here on previous events as well. Plug and Play is doing great work in the entire ecosystem from multiple dimensions, from being a VC, from corporate innovation. Like, there are so many things that are happening over there. Great to have that kind of support in the global ecosystem. Wilson, over to you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. So I'm Wilson, and I'm part of the investment team at Maki VC. And I want to keep my intro short so we get to the more interesting people today, which are the founders. But personally, I have a background in finance and at Maki VC, we invest in pre-seed and seed stage companies, mainly in Northern Europe. And we are a generalist fund, but we do have a particular fondness for deeply technical firms and have invested in many companies that are solving problems related to climate change. And I also have a personal passion for bridging capital and sustainability. So I'm really looking forward to hearing all the pitches today, and happy to see all the panelists as well.
Great to see your passion in the space and the ESG side. Thank you, Wilson, for being here and the amazing work that's happening at the Maki VC. Two things. First of all, I've put a link to the WhatsApp group, so all the founders here can join that, even investors. So that's a group which keeps everybody updated on what we are doing in ecosystem, at least Connect and other 7-8 ecosystems that I'm part of. That's one part. Now, I'll take half a minute and bring all the founders in one go. And before that, I'll just paste the presentation order over here. So this is today's presentation order. This is how the pitches will go. The format is 3-minute pitches, 3-minute feedback. So 6 minutes per startup, and we go fast. So this has to be really, really fast feedback. It's not long conversations. Like, you can keep it very crisp. And for example, your TAM is not well explained. Do that better next time. And we didn't understand that. So short feedback, if there is a long point, you can bring that in. But I'm going to bring all the startups now. Henrik first, then. So if all the startups can raise hands. Body Moody. So Archie. If any startup, because one startup had a flight to catch as well. So if that is the case, we can probably do a quick switch of order. Let's see, Robot Minds, and then okay. So I would say let's start with the startups that are on screen, and then I'll start bringing the others one in. So Henrik, if you are here, please open your camera and let's hear from you, and let's hear about your startup. You will have 3 minutes to present. How are you feeling?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well. Let's go. And to the panelists, I'm just saying this session might overrun by 5 to 7 minutes max, because we have that kind of yeah. I see a weird box on top of your screen a little bit, but maybe let's go. We need to run.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it. Let's go.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. My name is Henrik. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Aizle, and thanks for all the interesting conversations so far. In our founder team, each of us has young kids and parents over 80. And we didn't want the kids to grow only in the front of screens, and we wanted the parents to stay both mentally and physically fit as long as possible. And this is not only our problem, the challenge is worldwide. EU is spending over 1.5 trillion euros on healthcare, with main factors inactive sedentary lifestyle, mental health issues, and aging population. And we have a solution. We have developed a new mobile app. Well, just kidding. So the challenge is that basically you can only develop apps on mobile phones, which is not designed to be healthy. A mobile phone is a productivity and entertainment device. So with us, also the platform is designed to be healthy. And we started from first principles. The ball, simplest, most universal shape, and the one that moves people the most. So we made a smartest ball. We call it pallo, and it's a Finnish word for a ball. Simple to use, Finnish high-tech inside. Pallo is a patented smart ball for measurable fun rehabilitation, but it's not just a ball, it's a platform. It combines the qualities of a social robot with digital therapeutic device, like a health Tamagotchi. And unlike competition, Pallo is super versatile. As an example, in the morning, Pallo reminds you of medications, and during the day, it measures grip strength. Now let me quickly run you off an example of a stroke patient with Pallo. First, getting started is quick and easy. Pallo speaks, motivates to practice. Then patient trains, for example, grip strength, while Pallo measures progress in real time. Caregivers can easily see feedback, whether Pallo is happy or not, was the training done or not, and all data can be integrated seamlessly. And most importantly, patients feel supported. And we focus on what we do best, building a robust platform. Our business model is B2B, combining device sales with subscription revenue, and we already have 4 paid pilots with proven results. And together with our partners, we co-create solutions that will drive exponential growth. Here is a sample of the excellent feedback we have been receiving, and it's truly motivating and heartwarming to know we are on the right path. Our core team includes myself, Timo Riku, supported by specialists and advisors. And together we bring over 100 years of experience in science, tech, business, and half of us have also invested money into the company. So we have raised 1 million euros so far. We have a proven model that can grow steadily on its own, but this is a huge opportunity. We are raising 800,000 now that allows to scale, capture the market lead, and make a strong impact. We also look for large-scale pilots. So join us and let's make Pallo fly. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the first pitch. It was very well done in terms of time. So 3 minutes, let's do a quick feedback round of around 3 minutes. So please raise your hands. If you can't raise your hand, I'll still try to find you. Let's say, Tina, you want to go next? first? I don't know. I saw some hand. So yes, Magnus.
I
Now I see.
can start. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your interesting pitch. I was thinking that I'm heavy user of different kind of measuring devices. I have an Oura Ring and I have a sport watch, and I was wondering that so why should I have a third one in a way as an adult? And that was why I was thinking that is this something that what would bring me something else what I won't get from Oura and my sport watch? But yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
You don't need to respond, Henrik.
Yeah,
That's okay. But that's, I think, for your pitch, it's important that founders see that this is a point that came out and you need to address it in your next pitches.
Yeah. So you can think as like if it's a playable device. So let's say somebody's playing football. So would they play it with only the wearables? No, you have something which is tangible, which makes the experience social and something you can enjoy. That's the main reason.
Okay, thank you, Magnus, and then Makar.
Thanks a lot, Henry. Very nice presentation. Great timekeeping. What I would like to see as an investor is what is the market potential? Who are the customer? What are the customer segments? What is the market potential? And how will you go about to sell it as you know to be really successful on the market selling it?
Yeah.
How will that happen? You don't need to respond. I think this is not to respond. This is just feedback to you. I think.
Okay.
Like Naimul would say.
Thank you, Makar. Thank you, Magnus.
Yeah, great storytelling. You got my attention the moment I saw the ball, and it was a bit stutter breaking. So good job over there. I would really love to know a bit more about your business model. How are you planning to make money? What's the competition out there? So even though it's a very short presentation, but some really important points should probably come straight in the beginning, that this is what we're offering, this is how we're going to sell it and make money, and these are the competitions. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Hannah?
I'm just a really quick one because I've seen Henrik when they almost not started off, but from very beginning. So I just have to say that you've made amazing progress because I haven't seen you for a while. So it's very cool to follow your journey.
Thank you very much, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you so much, Henrik. That was all the feedback. Thank you for the great start to the presentation round. We'll request Ursula to be here.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's coming up.
Now?
Yeah, let's go.
Great. Hi, I'm Orshi. I'm an architect and I'm here to present Archie. Archie is using machine learning to solve the most expensive blind spot of the building industry: fragmented knowledge, rework, and regulatory risk. We're wasting more than 1/8 of the sector's total value on preventable error. And this affects everybody because mistakes can lead to catastrophe. And professionals who lose money with every delay, and the environment with 37% of the global carbon emission coming from the building industry. 80% of the construction costs are locked in during design, becoming a bottleneck for the building industry. How do we keep control today? Every design phase requires manual checks against all documents and regulation. Every change means starting over. It is extremely tedious, time-consuming, and can lead to delays and mistakes. So how do we solve this? Our solution is an AI-driven SaaS platform that gives architects, engineers, and developers control and clarity across the project. Archie plugs directly into the tools architects and engineers already use: 3D, 2D design software, file sharing, email, and meetings. It automatically gathers all project data, external sources like laws and regulation, and material specs. Archie flags mistakes, suggests fixes, and automates rework, keeping the entire project in sync with zero onboarding for the users. By learning from each project, it gives better and better prediction for cost, timeline, and solution for carbon footprint reduction. We're building the building industry brain, and as every brain is a complex process and it has several layers. So we are building it step by step, each step bringing added value, creating products on the way. Our most direct competitors are niche QA startups solving one side of the workflow. Archie transforms the entire workflow. Our pricing model is aligned with the industry standards, but more accessible for smaller firms and emerging markets. Our 3-year projection is 64 million euro ARR by reaching 5% of the architects and 1% of the engineers. Founded in May, we've done over 60 interviews, collected 5 LOIs, already have 2 MVPs. We are bootstrapping while securing some of Norway's largest architecture firms and in early talks with value-add investors. We're planning to raise in about 2 months, 500K with an 18 months runway, which will enable us to scale across the Nordic, onboard engineers and add material intelligence. With an architect and a software engineer, we combine deep industry knowledge with technical expertise to actually fix it. We know the pain from the inside and have the skills to build a solution. Why now? The industry is under an enormous pressure to deliver more, faster, but we spend, our architects, most of the time on admin, more time on admin than finding the right decision. We could make a real difference here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Marlene, let's start with you and then Philip. Before we go into that, Wilhelm from Dry, if you are here, let us know, raise the hand so that we can bring you in. And a couple of other founders, I'll put the message on chat now. Yes, Marlene, first you, then Philip, and then Timo.
Thank you so much for the super nice presentation. I think the problem came out very, very clear, and I really like the market slide that you were also showing. Also like the slide of seeing like where exactly you are, and I also thought it was great that you were saying how much you're raising and how much runway this will give you. So perfect. What I was thinking about is the sales, like how are you trying to achieve your sales, like how are you reaching these architects and these bureaus, and what kind of tools are they usually needing? So in order to assess like how long like a lead time could be. So I think that would be interesting to understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Philip?
I mean, really nice to see you, Ursula, again. You did a really good job with the pitch. Like you said, one of the most important things, you built very good credibility. You know your stuff, and you did your story very well. What I would suggest is just tell us a little bit about competition and why you are sticking out from the competition, and just to build from what Morten said as well on the sales side of it. Again, you went very quickly on the business model, but tell us specifically the customer segment. Again, there are architects, but like what kind of companies you're going, and also a little bit your growth journey in terms of like how many customers you're going to get in, let's say, a year or 2 and 3, just so that we understand the sales figures a little bit more. But really good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very short feedbacks now. Wilson, then Magnus, and then Michael. Yeah, I saw the hand.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for the pitch. I think it was as many or all the panelists said, a very good problem statement, and you managed to get a lot of information in the 3-minute pitch, and that is probably why a lot of the feedback will also be related to that. But yeah, given that there was a lot of competitors on the slide, I would maybe highlight more who are your ideal customer profiles? Why do you beat them, other than only being like focusing on a broader workflow? Yeah.
Thank you. Magnus?
The only thing I would like to add is how would you compare yourself with Finch? That is another Swedish architecture automation tool that has been going on for a couple of years.
Can I actually answer this?
Yeah, very, very quick.
Very, very quick. They're only doing plans, actual plans inside their softwares. We're doing administration as well. We're organizing the project data as well. Okay, short.
Thank you. Thank you. Michael. Michael, you're muted. Let's see.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for your pitch and your idea. I love it. I think you're on to solving a really big problem. As an impact investor, I would also love to see more of what is your expected impact of this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the presentation, Archie. Let's go to our next startup. Katrina, if you're here.
Yes. Hello.
Very good. Welcome. Let's hear your presentation.
Can I start? 3 minutes.
Yes, please go.
So my name is Katarina Rydlova, and I'm founder of a company Body Moody. First question, have you ever had a pain like you feel like you cannot move, you just want to lay on the ground, feel like someone kicked in your stomach, or just feel incredible cramping, and so on? 84% of women are feeling exactly that during their menstruation. 1 of 10 of them are diagnosed with endometriosis, and they feel chronic pain almost every single day in their life. And this leads to taking painkillers. I was one of them, taking 2 or 3 paracetamols per day to be able to go to work, to school, to basically function during those days. So I want to bring awareness that heat is proven as more efficient than taking paracetamol, but people and women don't know about that. So there is product like that. You might see it in a shops or you might have it at home. So I think this is not the design you would like to have in your work environment. I didn't want to bring it to the office. So this is the solution. We have developed a heated bodysuit. So we integrated the heating into the clothing. What you see as a red, which these are the heated panels, but it's very discreet. Nothing is visible. You can just wear it to the conference, feel comfortable, relief, and nobody needed to know. The heat is fully adjustable directly on the power packs on your phone if you want to be very discreet on adjusting the temperature if you are not alone. And this is how it feels. It's like a hug, it's relief, it's very relaxing. So these are products which are at the market among our product. Either they are one-time use, like a heat patches, or they are very bulky as the belt, non-breathable, made of polyester. And there are also startups which are not at the market yet, which is, for example, the last one. And what I'm very proud of that we are at the market. We help over 200 women in Czech Republic, and we are growing and ready to help more with also other products because my background is industrial design focused on healthcare and wellness. So I have ideas how to help more, and also we would like to spread among other countries. So this is a bit about me. A few months ago, I packed my life after 15 years living in Prague and moving to Norway. So currently I am based in Bergen, and we would love to grow in Nordics. So as now you can order our product in every country in Europe, and I am the one behind the website. So I will be the one dancing and very happy with every order. So our goal is to grow as femtech company with ideas, products, and bring really international expertise in that sector. So if this is something which resonates with you, I would like to help us. We would be very happy for help and connect with us.
Thank you so much. Let's start with Marlene. Just a quick message to Paula. She is also scheduled for pitching. We can't bring you on the main screen. You need to reconnect Zoom so that we can bring you in. Marlene, let's start with you.
Thank you, Katarina, for the nice pitch. I really have to say the feeling came across and I think everyone who hasn't felt like that kind of pain maybe can imagine it from the pictures, and you describe it well. I think like the business model came a bit short. Like, what's the price for one of those? How are you going to sell this? Is this going over your website, or are you using other channels? So I think that would be very interesting. And also the market would be very interesting to see. I like that you want to go into healthcare, femtech designs, and this is not the only thing. Maybe also like to give a vision how this could look like, and how you would set up a company around this could be interesting, because that's obviously part of the whole business and the investment if you would go in. But,
yes.
Thank you.
So
Thank you. You don't need to answer. It's okay. Thank you. This is a short pitch review session. So just so that you get all the feedback, it's important that you get all the feedback. Wilson.
Hi, thanks for a very good pitch. I think it was impressive that you had so little text on the slides, but got a full storyline in it. So that was very nice. And maybe what I would have highlighted more is, what is, you had mentioned that you had a patent. So what was patented, and and also more specs about the product, so the price, the battery life, something to make the investors and the customers interested. Thanks.
Thank you, Wilson. Margarita?
Yes, I agree with some of the comments others made. For me, I would have liked to understand what the exact is the USP compared to competitors. For example, you mentioned that others use polyester. So is your USP the materials? You mentioned some others are too bulky. Have you patented something that is both good for heating and is really thin, or is the intersection of all of this? So just clarify a little bit more your USP. And then Marilyn already mentioned it. Are you going to be B2C? Building a brand is quite a task, right? Or are you going more B2B2C, or a little bit more about the strategy and then your plans on executing that? That would have been lovely. But otherwise, great job.
Thank you, Margarita. Tina? Just a minute, let's unmute you.
Yes, sorry. Thank you. It was you managed to demonstrate your problem very nicely, and I just started to feel like, okay, I would like to have that kind of someday. I just agree with the other panelists. Maybe one thing what you could add as well, that where these products are made and go-to-market strategy overall. So those could be good add-ons as well.
Very good points. Thank you so much, Tina. And thank you, Katrina, for the pitch. We'll move now to Charlotte.
Can I just say, we are at the market, so you can you can scan this QR code and you can get all this information that where we produce, what's the material, everything. It's there. Thank you.
Charlotte from Fava Fund, you are next. Thank you, Katrina.
Hi.
Hi, Charlotte. How are you?
Everyone. I'm just trying to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. Okay.
You want to put it in full screen mode?
Yes.
Yeah,
There we are. Here we go. Okay. I'm Charlotte. I'm the founder of Fava Fund, and we are providing microloans to migrant entrepreneurs in Sweden. I'm sorry. So the context today in Sweden, we see that 25% of our population, 2.5 million, have a foreign background. The unemployment number is 4 times higher than if you have a Swedish background. And if an individual in the target group starts a business, we see that 2/3 of the entrepreneurs have challenges to find capital. We need to find new solutions to support the entrepreneurs. We all know about the microloans. The founder was awarded the Nobel Prize. We have seen how they successfully can change people's lives and have ripple effects in the ecosystem around the entrepreneurs. Microfinance is also a success story in the Western world, and we are now setting it up in Sweden. To finance the lending, we have a microloan fund where you can invest. And the loans are always combined with advice and support, because we think that just like the fava bean that needs water and nutrition to flourish, the entrepreneurs need capital, trust, and advice to prosper. So meet Avet. She's a single mom with 2 kids and has been running her business successfully for 5 years. And she has started her hair salon in Söderhamn with a fava loan of 200,000. And she has been surviving both the pandemic and the economic slowdown. She is one of the 30 entrepreneurs that we have supported with loans so far. And for granting loans, there is a thorough process to assess the business plan and the budget and the character of the entrepreneur. And with over 30 years of experience from the industry, well, I used to decide on billions of kroners, but now I'm down in numbers of digits of thousands. But rest assured, this is not all my doing. Fond wouldn't have been possible without the support from my network of financial experts. And we are up and running. We have been bootstrapping everything that we do so far. We are granting loans. We have investors. European Investment Bank has granted support to build system and platform to prepare for the scale-up. For the scale-up, we need a minimum of 2 million in fund investments, and this will allow us to apply for a loan guarantee from the European Investment Fund and to support 300 more entrepreneurs. We are targeting a financial return of 4% and the social impact equivalent to what we see achieved by other MFIs in the EU. You can invest a minimum of 250,000. After 5 years, you are repaid your investment, including financial return, and you have created a social impact as you have created opportunities for more entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael, and then Marlene.
Thank you so much. Love the pitch, and I'm glad to see that you're inspired by our Ashoka fellow, Mohammed Yunus, as well. And great that microfinancing is coming to Sweden. We have microfinance in Sweden, of course, already, but on a bigger scale.
Yeah, and it's government funded, so yeah.
Yeah, there are some different organizations. Anyway, I would also love to hear how do you ensure the success of the entrepreneurs. Mohammed Yunus works, with groups that where they come together and support each other and also help each other repay the loans. Is there a social element of this where people also help each other to succeed?
I think very interesting, and I think this is a good point. Maybe you're also based in Sweden, Michael. Maybe Charlotte and you should have a meeting. I think this could be quite an interesting case. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you, Charlotte. Super interesting. I hear the first time about microloans. I like the presentation. I think what should be a bit clearer from the beginning is like, who are you targeting? Can I, as an investor, give a microloan, or are you looking for funding for your company, or how does this work? I'm new to microloans. Maybe there's a different setup in these sort of companies, so maybe I didn't feel picked up from the beginning there. And you just mentioned briefly the terms of the investment. I think it could be nice to see them a little bit more clearer and how the model works, maybe the numbers and some visuals. It could be interesting to understand the concept, what you're in for, a little bit better. But I'm super curious to hear more, Charlotte. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you. This was totally new for me. I haven't heard. I have heard the microloan word, but I was thinking that, and the presentation was very beautifully made as well. But so if you have competitors, it would be good to mention that, okay, we have this kind of competitors. But I was thinking the scalability, that do you have any plans to go to other Nordic countries or just to stay in Sweden? So if you have any plans to go different European countries, for example, it would be good to know as well. And as well that marketing side, so that how you will make yourself recognizable so that people find you.
Thank you so much, Hannah, and then Margarita. Short ones.
Yes. Just very shortly, I actually have I did my master in research for my PhD in microfinancing in Tanzania and South Africa a long time ago. And first, when I heard the pitch, I was a bit I couldn't really relate to the Nordics and thinking about the startup community. But now when I'm thinking And this is just, I mean, first of all, just to get the go-to-market and all the sort of normal things, like how would you scale it? And how would it look from an investor point of view, really, the path? But then now when I'm thinking, I'm actually getting a lot of also ideas that there's probably a lot of opportunity there. So good luck.
Thank you so much, Margarita.
Yes, and Charlotte, it's great to see you again and hear this fantastic pitch. I think I will just echo what some others said, and again, it's coming from somebody who has heard this a little bit more detail, but I think it's great to sort of juxtapose this against other solutions, other type of impact players who are trying to do something similar, and compare and contrast how you are approaching the issue, not just from an impact perspective and how the company will operate, but also the structure. Again, the comparison with other solutions and other ways to do this would be really helpful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Margarita. We'll move to the next pitch now. Charlotte, thank you for your pitch. I'll request Sakura to go next.
Go. All right. Hello, everyone. Let's see if I can. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Almost yes. Yes. Yes.
There we go. Okay. So, hello, everyone. In 2024, sick leave costs amounted to 200 billion euros, which equates to 1.4% of the EU's GDP. In Sweden, 11% of the population eat antidepressants. This means that the current emotional health solutions on the market do not meet the extent of the market's needs. My name is Elin, and I am the CEO and founder of Sakura, a mission that was founded in mid-2022 from my own personal suffering as a young woman, pushing me to understand that at the end of the day, the most important thing to a human being is how we feel on the inside. Sakura is an on-demand hybrid marketplace for diverse resources in emotional health for individuals and companies with the initial focus on online sessions via external providers, driven by AI to match the individual's experience with a broad library of therapy forms. The user journey for an individual and an employee is similar. The only difference is that when an employee is onboarded via a company, they are grouped under the company's organization number and have access to key features such as wellness program integration with automated reports, flexible payment solutions, company-supported resources, and group-level backend statistics. Our business model consists of a commission per booking and a monthly user subscription from companies. There are a few key factors that make Sakura stand out from competitors. We offer a much broader range of tested and research-based therapy methods. Our focus is preventative, driven by individual health, and while many other wellness program-oriented company solutions focus heavily on physical health, we aim to occupy the market of emotional health, which accounts for the majority of sick leaves. The global market for digital health was worth 226.3 billion euro in 2023 and is expected to grow at an annual rate of 21.9% in the coming 5 years. Our go-to-market for the next 6 to 12 months is reaching health-conscious individuals and mission-aligned organizations through media, digital ads, strategic partnerships, and sales. We've acquired 170 providers, 83,000 euro in revenue 2025, with 9 paying B2B customers and 85% recurring bookings. Our core team consists of 3 key people. We're all driven by personal experience and the impact we can achieve at large scale. Our team is growing quickly with 9 new sales resources and a strategic commercial partner with full focus on B2B and enterprise. We just closed a round of 300,000 euro with both active and passive investors, and now opening up to raising 500,000 euro for product development and marketing. We've acquired a part of the round, and we're closing the rest of the round by November 2025. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to a continued conversation.
Thank you, Elin. Exactly 3 minutes. What are the chances? Thank you for that, and we can take some feedback now. Marlene? You're muted. Let's see.
There, I unmute myself. Thank you for the presentation. Really nice. I think the competitors was really good, like to see, and I think the presentation looked great. I think other presentations were focusing quite a lot on the problem and like what the solution was. I think this came a bit short. I would have liked to hear a little bit more, but I'm very impressed by what you have reached. So I think like your sales you have reached and the market, that kind of gives confirmation that you're doing something at the right spot there. But I think like you could talk a little bit about more like your solution and like why this works in comparison to the other competitors. Thank you so much, Elin.
Thank you so much, Marlene. Timo.
Yeah, thank you. No, thanks for the pitch. I think it was a great presentation. Very well structured. So my point is actually also a little bit into that direction. So I was also missing a bit the link between the problem and then the solution. And obviously there is willingness to pay. So you're already generating a revenue, which is great. But yeah, what's actually the problem and why are people paying for it? And since you already have a product up and running, maybe it would also be nice to maybe show how the product actually looks like. So not only like a small mock-up, but actually like a picture of the app and how the interface basically looks like on the product for the B2B customer.
Thank you so much, Timo.
Thank you.
Any further feedback from the panel? Yes, Tina, quick one. Let's see, let's unmute you.
Again, so sorry for that. Congrats what you have reached so far. It was nice to hear. One point, I was thinking that if you are now recruiting more sales reps, it would be good to know a little more that how you will sell to your customers as well in the future. So how you will reach, or is it in Europe, and what is the selling model? Because maybe you need to call or whatever. But anyway, some more details maybe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you and good luck. Same from us. Thank you, Elin. We'll move to our last 3 startups of the evening. Kastra, if you can open up your screen and let's go. We have different verticals. When we are doing an event like this, we try to cover different verticals. So I hope that breadth comes across.
Can you see my slide?
Yes, Asgard.
Hi, this is Kasra Hagigi from, I'm CEO and co-founder of UniqueSec, and I'm introducing Asgard. As you know, there are more and more sensors on the vehicle, especially radars for safety and especially for autonomous vehicles. There can be up to 9 radars or even more on a single vehicle. So our product is called Asgard, which is an automotive radar verification. It's already patented, granted around the world from the United States to Europe and Asia. We have received international awards. And we are offering this product already in the market. So we have Toyota, Porsche, and Jari as paying customers to our product. Right now, we are in the premium sector, but we would like to expand to the lower end sectors as well. So this is our product. It's a system that sits in front of an automotive radar, which can be installed on a vehicle or it can be on the bench. And it emulates virtual world for the vehicle. So radar sends the signal on a vehicle and our system modify it and create a perception of the targets for the vehicle. We have a very long history, so probably we are the oldest startup among everybody here. We have already commercialized and we are now ready for expansion around the world. This system provides a lot of values I will skip for now, and we have already competition. Our system has already surpassed the competition in many different aspects. The addressable market is quite large, and we believe that our product can access a big chunk of that market. Our team consists of both men and women. The top row is the founders, so it's more than 50% female founders. And we have experiences from automotive to signal processing and business management. We are projecting that we will have a fairly hockey stick trend in our growth. Last year, we had a revenue of 26 million crowns, and now we are looking for 4 to 6 million euros for expansion and internationalization going to North America and China especially. Also, we would like to expand our engineering team to accommodate more orders. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just need to configure the technology a little bit. Hold on. Yeah. Yes, Magnus, let's start with you and then Timo.
Thanks a lot, Kasper. Very, very exciting. What would be interesting to know for an investor is you had a product out there for quite a long time. You have had paying customers for quite a long time.
Sure.
And still the revenue is not that high. So if you would it be interesting to see sort of if you would in your pitch would elaborate a little bit on your way going forward and why that is and how you will accelerate your sales and go to market.
Very good point. Magnus, I just want to say Mats can help you in Germany if you want to expand there. So on the
Definitely.
chat. So you can connect with Mats later on. I've also put a link to our WhatsApp group. So do join that. There's a lot of interesting conversation, investors and startups there. So just saying that. Timo, over to you.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I'm also happy to send the pitch deck to my colleagues in Stuttgart. So we also have a big network in the automotive industry. Yeah, just wanted to say one thing regarding your presentation. So in general, I think the structure was good, but there was a little bit too much text for me, at least. I couldn't really follow you because there was a lot of text and I was always a bit distracted. So I think make sure to have less and focus a bit more on the key points, what you've basically achieved so far and what you're trying to do going forward and how you want to make sure to
Sure.
achieve the sales targets.
Thank you, Timo. Wilson?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the presentation and very interesting background. But yeah, I would maybe echo the previous feedback from Timo that given that you have a long background, I would maybe use the 3-minute presentation and only highlight the main key features or key facts to raise the interest for them further discussions. So maybe decrease the amount of text and highlight the main points.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We seem to have a problem with Zoom, so we can't cut paste the text. So while we are here, if you want to reach out to mentors, investors here, you can directly click on their LinkedIn profiles. That's for all the startups. Thank you. Let's move to our next startup, which is Wille. You are here with Try.
Does it work?
Yes, this works.
Hello.
Let's go.
Okay, so anyone who wears gloves knows sweat is inevitable. But trapped sweat is what stops skin from recovering. So daily glove use, allergic reactions, blisters, eczema, daily glove use turns protection into damage. And every solution ends the same. Painful hands and another wasted dollar. Take Jens, a miner at LKAB, and Linnea, a professional hockey player at Frölunda. Both got their hands destroyed by sweaty gloves. And when the skin stays damp, its protective barrier softens and weakens, a process known as moisture-associated skin damage. And cotton, bamboo, and silk act like sponges. They absorb sweat and stay wet, keeping skin soaked instead of dry. So in collaboration with leading Swedish textile engineers and scientists, we developed a new thin dual-layer textile. The first layer pulls moisture away from the skin, and the second layer captures it and allows it to evaporate, keeping hands dry through long shifts, extreme cold, tough sports, and overnight. And our first product is a glove liner, and we've already received requests of socks and base layers in our material, including the Ministry of Defense of Sweden. And this is the value our technology delivers. Healthier hands, lower costs, and lasting protection. We've sold over 400 pairs in 15 countries with a 60% gross margin. 70% of the sales are direct to consumer through our website, and break even is 400 pairs per month. And we're targeting two markets worth over $13 billion. First, professionals who sweat inside gloves, and two, consumers who sleeps with them. And we're raising 180,000 euros for 10% of our company, and funds will go towards first, scaling sales, expanding through Amazon and Facebook ads, and second, securing IP. Patent pending since 2020, with EPO review ongoing, and the new filing this November for the technique and the material. And third, strengthening the team in terms of adding expertise in marketing and operations. And here's our pipeline. And our plan is to expand the textile into socks, base layers, and more for business to business in the long run. And with our Amazon launch, we project break even by February 2026. And the plan is built with rank on Amazon, experts who have scaled many brands over the years, and our niche on Amazon already generates $4.6 million per month. And PPE should protect, not destroy the skin. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. Let's see, Margarita.
Yes, so thank you. I think this is really, really interesting. I think you did a great job showing the problem, showing all the use cases, and there's definitely more than the obvious one. So you did a really good job orienting us around that. I think when you mentioned the IP initially, when you talked about a little bit the technology, you kind of dropped it. I would just bring the patent earlier on in your pitch so it's clear and it all ties together. And you already clarified what the patent is for, which is great. I think it's more the business model. You went over it a little bit quickly, the slides, so I didn't really fully grasp. I saw direct to consumer. Then you mentioned Amazon, obviously, so that's retail. But do you have any ambition to become like a component brand, like MIPS or Gore-Tex or anything like that? That is also one avenue. It's fine to try to do them all, but like at least communicate a longer term, that's the goal. Because each one is a little bit different. And again, it's fine in the beginning to do a little bit of all, but just be clear what's your long-term vision.
Thank you so much, Margarita. Yes, Hannah, and then Marlene.
Yes, thank you for a great presentation, and yes, on to something very, very interesting. But I would actually a little bit echo of what Margarita said, and coming back to the business model maybe, because there was like all these different ways of going, and also a little bit like how much one pair of gloves cost, and what are the cost of the production, and that sort of business model, how that looks, and how it will look in the long run of where you start and go to market. But very cool stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Marlene?
Thank you for the presentation, Willem. I really think it was great. I think you were talking a bit about unit economics, and I love that. Like, I think you said 16% gross margin, that you were going D2C, and that you needed 400 gloves to break even. So I thought that was great to put it in perspective. I think, like Margarita was saying, like, come with a patent earlier. And I think the problem is clearer, like from the first slide that you've done. I think like what I would like to see is like what makes your solution different and how does like a normal layer look like? Maybe concentrate and compare those both to, and then, you know, talk about the pattern, I think, because that's like the strongest. And then of course, go to market. You had a very good slide there, but could be worth to talk a little bit more about this, but super interesting. And I think a feedback for all founders, I realized, is put your name, your full name there that we can like connect to you on LinkedIn, like here in the Zoom, because I realized sometimes that comes very at the end and you can't read it, or Wilhelm, we don't know what your surname is. So I will have to Google, which is good. I will probably find it, but I guess it's always handy to have the name.
Very good point. We'll send startup contacts to everyone who was on the panel. So I think that'll simplify the stuff, but I've also put panelists. But I think it's good for demo days, like when you're presenting, that everybody should have the name. If somebody wants to, if you are in a physical demo day, somebody can just take a screenshot and then contact you later. So good point for there. Thank you so much, Willem. We take our last pitch. Paula, finally you made it to the main screen. It was such a battle on the back end.
Yeah, I'm the last one. Everyone is tired, but I hope I can give you this pitch that I hope will clear everything up. Let me see here if I can share my screen. Do you see anything?
Yes, I see it.
Do
Let's
you
go.
see full screen?
Yes, let's go.
Perfect. So, good evening, everybody. I'm going to take you back to your final academic year when you face your thesis, your final exam. I don't know if you remember that. Back then, finding a company to collaborate with was a real struggle for many of us, and it still is. It still depends on luck or personal networks. Small and medium-sized companies, they make up 99% of the companies in the Nordic countries and Europe, yet they remain largely invisible for thesis students. My name is Paola Diaz, and I'm one of the co-founders of By Matching. So the current problem today is that solutions, they serve big companies today, keeping smaller ones out of reach for students. The students, they still lack the right connections, the right networks, and SMEs don't have the resources to connect with them. So our solution By Matching connects students with SMEs using AI to match company projects and to help companies create project descriptions. Students, they stay anonymous, and matches are based on skills and education to avoid bias. Our business model is that companies pay 80 to 800 euros per year for AI-matched students and additional features. We have also our postgraduate subscription, where we provide students with help to match with the right job opportunities and provide additional assistance. The market potential is that every year, 200,000 thesis students and 300,000 SMEs in the Nordic want to collaborate, yet they rarely connect. Across Europe, 2 million thesis students and more than 1 million SMEs are missing out opportunities. By Matching has been matching SMEs with students for over a year, and we are now relaunching with a new business model and improved platform to scale impact. Our go-to-market strategy is that we are launching in Sweden with student unions and student ambassadors at campus. In 2027, we expand to the Nordic countries where similar ecosystems make scaling easier. In 2028 and forward, we continue with the same strategy for scaling in the rest of Europe. Most European platforms focus on large companies, leaving SMEs out of reach. By Matching offers a university-independent AI-powered solution with student and campus engagement, and we include SMEs. My name is Paola Diaz. I'm the CEO of By Matching, with 25 years in business development, serial entrepreneur Per Tam and Peter Söderström in sales, and with a CTO and a CMO soon joining. We are now raising 1 million euros to scale from 2026 to 2030 to further develop By Matching by team, organization, marketing, and development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. Let me just see. Yes, Wilson and Marlene.
Hi, thanks for a very good last presentation. It was very energizing, and I think it was good that you highlighted the market and the market size and also the pricing. But I would also open up more on why you chose that pricing and what's the realistic roadmap to reach, for example, the 2030 target, and how will you achieve it?
Thank you so much, Wilson. Marlene.
I follow Wilson there. I think like business model, you can like have that a little bit clearer. I liked also that you saw the pricing, and I also liked that you talk a little bit about AI and the tool. I think you should also say a little bit like how the tool is working, so that you understand like really like how are you going to do this, and how are you filling your platform? Because basically you're a platform that needs two ends. Like what's your plan on filling, and what has worked well for you so far to do that?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marlene. Any further feedback from the panel? Margarita, yeah.
Yes. So I just want to make a quick pet peeve note. So for the TAM and SUM, when you were going over the numbers, initially were not matching what was on your slide. So I just couldn't follow. I understand later why it was a subset of what you had. Just FYI, as you pitch, make sure it matches what is on the slide. I would focus more on the traction. I think I missed it versus targets. That's more of my pet peeve. Like everybody has ambitious targets, but it's more, for me, it's a lot. I don't want to see the 2030 target. I want to see how you get there. So just have a story around that. And I just wonder if the SMEs, that was mentioned quite a lot, as to like the unique positioning. I wonder if that's really it, because I just don't know how like LinkedIn or Indeed or any other kind of platform doesn't fill that gap. Maybe it's more around, I think it has more to do with like the actual thesis process and the matching there versus the SME part. But that's just me not knowing enough about the space and making an initial assumption in case it's helpful. But overall, very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the session. A big thanks to all our panelists here. Thank you, Timo. Thank you, Marlene, Hannah, Magnus, Wilson, Tina, Michael, and Margarita. And I think Mekar was here and Ruth couldn't join. Philip was here as well. But great work, everyone. Thank you from our side. And a big thanks to all the entrepreneurs who have been here as well. Have a great evening. We'll try to connect entrepreneurs with the panel over here afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.